everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Nina Infinity, your host, and I'm here with my very favorite person on YouTube. His name is John from John Talks, and yes, I still fangirl every time we're on stream together, which is pretty much every week on Wednesdays on his channel where we do a show called Infinite Talk. But he's on my channel today, and it's exciting.
That's right.
So, hey.
I don't have to worry about all the responsibilities that come with live streaming. So it's nice.
No, and he was like, enjoy as we went live, because I was like, oh my God, where am I? What am I doing? So he was making fun of me for a change, because that's usually the case with me. But yeah, so like we got a lot to talk about, but I'm just gonna say hello to a few people in the chat. We got Zero Rewind in the house. Hello, thank you for being here. Orville Nation's here. Hi PJ. I was just on his channel for Dark Matter Mondays, like right before this, where we talked to Joseph Malassi, and we talked with the director of one of the Dark Matter episodes, and Ron Murphy, and he was so cool. He was the coolest guy. I'm meeting so many cool people on PJ's channel. It's just I'm having a blast on Dark Matter Mondays. So thank you for being here. Says that he loves The Dark Knight. That's definitely one of his best ones for sure. I agree. Hi, Curtis. Thank you for being here. Christy's here. Hi, Christy. Thank you for being here. Mads Mama Bear, Queen Mama. Thank you for being here. Curtis says that his top 5 is The Dark Knight, rest in peace, Heath Ledger, of course, The Prestige, Memento, Batman Begins, and Inception. The rest from just okay to bloated garbage. Wow. Okay. That's a strong
statement.
We'll definitely get to that as well. A lot of cool things to talk about here. Zero Rewind says Inception was pretty interesting. It's a shame everyone remembers from it is the haha something inside something. Let's call it somethingception. In something. Oh my God. Okay. Well, I have to give this clip.
Jim? No thanks. I'm good. That's what she said. Pam?
My mother's coming.
That's what she said. No.
It's conception. That's.
But yeah, so Eclays here. Hi, thank you for being here. John Burns, hi. Hello. Angry Vader's here. Hi. Runner's here. I know Runner's a big Nolan fan. We've had discussion about what I think is the absolute worst Nolan movie on the docket, which is his latest one, Tenet. And now that I've gone and rewatched his previous movies, including one of his very first, called The Following, I 100% stick by that statement. I think Tenet is an absolute piece of garbage. I will get into that as well. Terrible movie on so many levels. What did you think of Tenet?
It is. I think it is his. I think Dunkirk and Tenet are his worst movies. So basically his most recent movies are his worst ones. I don't know if it's just a matter of like a filmmaker getting too high on himself, or just so confident, like he thinks he doesn't need to do certain things, like explain or more thoroughly explain concepts. I think the problem with Tenet, it's not that the concept isn't explained, but I don't think it moves too fast and it doesn't explain enough as it goes. And so it's like, I feel like for Tenet, you needed that scene. And we talked about this before, Nina, but you need that scene that was in Jurassic Park that is clearly painting out, how the impossible is possible, even if it's just very simply. It doesn't have to be this thorough explanation, but for instance, in Jurassic Park, there is that sequence or that scene where there's the cartoon that all the doctors, they're on the ride and they're going through, and they're shown this like minute and a half cartoon that explains how you can make a dinosaur out of insect DNA. Mm-hmm. And it's done in such a simple way that anybody can understand it. It's just so simple. everybody gets it. And it's like, okay, we can move on from here and we can move on to the next thing. I feel like with Tenet, we didn't necessarily get that sort of explanation in a very simple way where everybody can get it. And because the problem is, it's like you can't really move on if you don't really understand what's going on. And I just feel like Tenet didn't give you any room to really breathe and any room for that sort of explanation. So it's a great concept.
Yeah, it is a great concept. But even Robert Pattinson, who was in the movie, came out and said, I didn't understand what the hell was going on half the time.
I don't know what that's going on.
Yeah. So when you have your actors being like, I don't know what I'm doing because I don't understand the concept, there's a problem. Like you have a problem because even your actor who's there with you doesn't understand what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So, and I think that like, even more to what everything you just said, I agree with. And like, man, Nolan, quit with this sound mixing bullshit, man. Seriously, because I know that, well, I watched Tenet in the movie theater and I couldn't hear a freaking word. And all it was this just like bass sound, like over and over, and it drowns out the entire dialogue. So when you have such a complicated movie that you need to be like, focused on and understand what's going on, then you have this thing where he's trying to take over, like not your just visual cortex, but like your, like your earlobes. And you're just kind of like, okay, I'm already being visually stimulated. I don't need to just like have my eardrums blown out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was also my other problem with that movie, which was also my problem with Dunkirk, because I hadn't seen Dunkirk and I had heard that he had, like, this was his first sound experimentation was apparently with Dunkirk. And then, but I hadn't seen that movie. So when I watched it now, and this time, of course, I was at home, so I had subtitles and I had like whatever, but there was certain scenes in that movie where he's trying to make it so that like, because they're in such a grueling situation. So he's trying to get you even more, not just from your visual like thing, but with the sound. So he has this thing going, this jittery sound going that like just was giving me like such anxiety. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like that he's just trying to induce anxiety in you with the audio.
I think that's what he was trying to. Yeah, I definitely was trying to do that. I think with Dunkirk and obviously with Tenet as well. I think it probably worked better for Dunkirk. But I think another thing when I'm thinking of Tenet, and this was also something we talked about, was there wasn't anything to tie to emotionally. So it's like, at least with Inception, you understood Cobb, you understood where he was coming from. You knew his past, you knew the stuff that went down with his wife. I mean, there was an emotional anchor to it. So even though
that he was trying to get back to his kid, like, his kids, like that was his goal.
Exactly. So it's like, even though the plot, like, even though the concept and the idea of the movie is extremely complicated, there was something very simple that you understood. Cobb's trying to get back to his kids, that's the thing that matters to him. And, with Tenet, it's like, we don't know anything about, Washington's character. And I thought he was great. And I thought Pattinson was very good, but it's just like, by not giving them any real backstory or anything to really anchor into emotionally, that also, I feel like, just didn't help anything as well.
Yeah, and I mean, kudos to Robert Pattinson. Actually, I gained even more respect for him now because he was really great in Tenet. But the fact that he had no idea what he was doing or what the movie was about makes it even more so that he's actually a great actor. Kudos for him because he was able to pull it off. Whatever was the case. Hello, Nerd Cookies, Elaine. Hi. How are you? Mega Max's Bane's voice had to be completely redubbed because it was unintelligible in pre-scenes. I didn't see Dark Knight Rises in the theater, so I saw that later as well.
You could tell it was dubbed over, but I didn't mind because you rather just have the clarity, rather than than not know what the hell. I mean, even in some points, though, it was difficult to tell what he was saying. So, I mean,
he does do a great Bane. Can you grace us with your Bane voice, please?
I was born in the darkness, molded by it. That was
there you go.
Catch me on the weekend. I'll be better.
With some drinks in you. All right, perfect. Good to know. So the other thing, actually, speaking of Tom Hardy, because that was he's in a bunch of the Nolan movies. He's one of those actors, I guess, that really likes Nolan. But one of the things that I noticed was that he was in Dunkirk, and you could barely tell he was in Dunkirk because the entire movie, his beautiful face was covered by that freaking mask inside the plane. So I was like, why would you get like Tom Hardy to be the plane dude where you could have him be as one of the actors and then have us even more emotionally connected to this actor, because that's who people are paying to see. They're paying to see Tom Hardy like be in the movie. You could have paid anyone much less money to be in the plane and act that part. I just feel like that was a complete like wrong casting decision, and that may not necessarily be Nolan's thing, because that, you know, they have like casting directors and stuff, but like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's Tom Hardy.
Well,
like,
he was Bane, which you know, he wears the mask for, and then he's wearing a mask. You know, he wore a mask that whole entire movie.
But at least and then around.
Yeah, but I mean, the great thing about Tom Hardy is that you can't even tell that's Tom Hardy as Bane at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, he became, and he looks something else entirely different, which, you know, is a credit. I mean, Tom Hardy, the only bad performance, or just really not so great performance I've ever seen him in, was in Venom. Other than that, though, every other film he's ever been in, he's incredible. But
I've never seen Venom. I still have to watch that. That's on my list. But he's also in Peaky Blinders, which is it's a great show, and he's fabulous in that show. He's crazy in it. I really like him. But yeah, so that was one of the things with Dunkirk. I did enjoy Dunkirk though, more than I thought I would, because like I'm not a huge fan of war movies, but what I did like, which is so Christopher Nolan, was the fact that he did the time thing. Like I thought that his vision of how like, and how everything came together, where like he was shooting certain things that were done in the past, and then you kind of catch up to that moment of when it all converges together, I thought was brilliant. Like I thought that was really well done. I did really like that about the movie. Now, however, as far as war movies go, I think 1917 is superior, because again, when you're talking about that human connection thing that you were talking about with Tenet, you had that with 1917, whereas with Dunkirk, you don't really. The whole thing is like, oh, they're trying to get off the beach. Okay, we get that. Yeah. But like, there is no like, okay, this dude's trying to get back to his wife, or he's trying to get back to his daughter, or like whatever. Like there's no like moment where they're looking at a picture or something like that is driving them, other than survival, to get off the beach. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, okay, they got to get off the beach. But it's just like, I don't know. I just felt like in that sense, as far as war movies go, like Saving Private Ryan, like has such a huge, you know, human connection. That's why everyone's just kind of like so invested. So that I thought was missing, but his overall take on how it was done and how it was directed was brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, technically, I think it's you know, it's spectacular, but that was the other, you know, the same complaint that I had for Tenet is just like, you have to give me, you know, more than these people want to survive. You got to give me more of a reason to actually care for them. Like
exactly.
I just, you know, and I know it's all about the experience. Like I know that that's what he was going for. Like basically, I want to transport you into this specific time. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, you know, a film like Saving Private Ryan, which of course is based off of a fictional narrative, somewhat based off of a true story, but the Sullivan brothers, they all died. But anyways, regardless, like Spielberg did that in such a real way. In the first half hour of Saving Private Ryan, like he's already like Spielberg did that. I'm going to put you in the heat of the action. And in fact, I still think Spielberg did it way better than Nolan did. Mm-hmm. And so I get it that he's trying to put you in this like historical moment. But the other side of it too is that like my dad, he's a World War II buff. He knows the historical context of Dunkirk. But even he himself, like, he didn't care for the movie because he's like, there's no explanation to what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like, and I find that to be a problem too. It's like, you have to at least, you don't have to explain everything, but at least give some context as to what the fuck is going on. Mm-hmm. So I was needless to say, I actually dislike Dunkirk more than Tenet. And I know, you know, there's people out there, and I've heard this, you know, where somebody said like, I hated Dunkirk too until I saw a review of Chris Stuckman, and then I saw it in a different light and I liked it. And I'm just like, fuck that shit, you know, because look, if you have to listen to a critic to tell you why the movie's good, mm-hmm. like I already knew what he was going for. Like I get it, it's an experience, but that doesn't save a movie. Like you need more than just an experience, in my opinion. You actually need a story. And a story.
That's how I felt about Tenet. I was like, what is this? What am I watching here? Like backward bullets. Like he made everything so over convoluted and over complicated that you were like, I don't even care. Like, I don't care what happens to these characters because your idea is just way too like, come on, man, focus here. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I just felt like I was constantly trying to play catch up, just, you know, wrapping my mind around this concept, which, again, I don't think it's an impossible concept.
No.
I think it's a really freaking awesome concept. I feel like he, you know, and this is not shitting on Nolan hour, by the way.
No.
We're going to talk about a lot of the good stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the concept is brilliant. I love the concept. I love the idea, but just the execution of it, you know, that's right,
you know what, going into like the best parts of it. That's why I love Inception, because Inception, you have a very complicated idea, but you have all of that. You have that human connection. You have like, it's a complicated idea, but he explains it enough so that you can follow the idea and just go into like, you know, like when he recruits Ariadne, formerly known as Ellen Page, what's his name now? Elliot Page. Okay.
I don't even know.
Elliot Page, aka Ellen Page. That was the saddest part of the movie, by the way. Now, like watching it back, you're like, oh God, like this is terrible. Like, I wonder what he thinks of that. I wonder if he like watches that and he's like, man, I should have gone with that other chick. Like, you know, because you have like, choices.
I don't think he cares. I mean, I don't think it ruins the. You know, I mean, I thought again in isolation, I could just separate the art from the artist or something. So I thought she was fine. I thought
she was great. No, she was great. But now I'm like, oh God, now she's a man. But so that aside, what I thought was great was that when they recruited her and then he's teaching her what he wants her to do. Yes. So through that, we learn what he does and what this is about. What is this story? What are they trying to do? And this implantation of this idea in this guy's mind and how it's supposed to be done. So through that, you know, you learn everything. Whereas with Tenet, you don't get that. That's why it's like you're just constantly trying to play catch up, like you said. And even though Inception was a little confusing, because you're like, especially the first time I watched it, because I didn't know what was coming. So like,
even the first scene, he does the dream within a dream. Like, he doesn't just do like a dream, but he's like, we got to do a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
But it still works because, you know, again, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you can follow along, and it is bit by bit by bit where he's explaining this concept. He's explaining this idea. Whereas, you know, in Tenet, it's just like, it's the way it's explained. Again, you really needed like one of those scenes. Like for instance, like where Leonardo DiCaprio is explaining it to Paige, it's the same thing. You
Mhm.
need that sort of exploring of the world or that type of understanding. You just need to simplify it for the audience a little bit.
And I like what Nerd Cookie says here because it had that Ocean's 11 vibe, and it did because you're like, okay, like
it's a heist.
It's a heist, you know. I'm in for all this team to make it to whatever their goal is, even if it's a pretty shitty goal to have. Like they're trying to plant an idea inside someone's brain, but like you know, I'm still like I'm connected to what's happening, and this man's struggle with like dealing with all of that, and the fact that like his wife's death and everything, and the fact that like it's been what like 15-20 years now that this movie came out, we're still talking about what happened in the end. Like we're still talking about, was he asleep the whole time? Was like what happened, you know, in the end when you see his token is still spinning in that last shot.
Yeah, I think it was, what was it, 2010 I think Inception came out, so
it's like 11 years ago.
Yeah, I mean it is great for that reason. And I mean that's the thing about like Tenet, or I should say Nolan, he has had those films where at the end, you know, they just really have like this very emotional impact. And I guess segueing into you know, I recently watched Interstellar. And again, I mean, for that film, I believe, you know, it definitely has some issues, but I think emotionally it works. And it is like, you know, I mean, it was extremely moving. I thought, you know, some of the scenes like with Matthew McConaughey and they're on that planet and they've lost like, how many years was it? Like 20, 21 years or something. And then he's watching his kids grow up in front of him. You know, I mean, and especially the end too. I don't know, like that's a film where I think out of like, when I saw it, I still thought it was one of Nolan's, you know, weaker entries, but now rewatching it, I think I have a different feeling on it. And, you know, especially compared to like Tenet or especially compared to Dunkirk. So
I agree with you. And I think, because I think Curtis, I can't go that far back in the chat to highlight what he said, but I did read that, like he said, like it was unbelievable in Interstellar, like nobody in a spacesuit can survive a black hole. And I think that kind of, while I agree,
Nolan don't give a shit.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the honey badger. Honey badger don't give a shit.
Yeah,
you know, Nolan don't give a shit.
I don't think that was his point. Like he wasn't trying to be realistic with the sci-fi element of it. I think it was more about that human and emotional connection that he was trying to make with Interstellar, which I think was a huge, you know, like he succeeded in that.
That's where the film succeeds.
Yeah, it really does succeed in that, because I don't like, for example, for me, like if I'm going to be a sci-fi buff about it and like be like, well, whatever, like he never explained like how the earth went through what it did. And like, he never explained like why everything was dying out. Like there was never certain explanations and sure, that's part of the problem, but that wasn't the point of the movie. The point of the movie wasn't a science fiction movie. It was about that human emotional thing and what someone would go through for their loved ones. Like I think that's more like the point rather than a straight up sci-fi. You're not going to get the expanse with Interstellar. You're getting something way more emotional.
Well, I think sci-fi that, you know, any sci-fi that is completely realistic is, you know, would just become tedious. I mean, it is like, it's a human story masked in a, you know, in a sci-fi
exactly.
Clothing or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's like, you know, you look at 2001, you know, to me, this was like Christopher Nolan kind of going a little bit Kubrick in some ways, you know, especially with the, you know, Kubrick has the Stargate sequence and then it's like, I mean, people could be like, well, how the fuck did he wind up in that room? And, you know, and everybody has a different interpretation. I think the general consensus, and I don't even know if Kubrick said this, but that there was like some alien force that put him there or whatever, but that's not explained in the movie. The one thing with Interstellar that I thought was a little bit far-fetched is where Matthew McConaughey's character, he says that, this Tesseract that he's inside, that, will eventually build this. This was built by humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I think it was better when it's just kind of left to whether it be like this alien force or whether it's God or whoever, like, if you just kind of leave it to that, it's a more believable, because I'm just like, no, I don't believe that. As much as I do believe like humans can do nearly anything,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just outside of our reach. Like, even give us 1,000,000 years, I don't even know. Again, I guess if you add 1,000,000 years, then things become a lot more possible. But that for me was just too much of a stretch. I'm like, no, human beings can't. They just wouldn't have been able to build that.
Yeah, I hear you. And Galford Dog says Nolan allowed them to hire scientific consultants, but warned them he wasn't going to let accurate science interfere with the emotional and creative direction of the film. And that's what I picked up from it. I didn't think he was going for sci-fi. I think he was going for that, like what you said, an emotional human connection story masked in a sci-fi movie, and I think he succeeded in that. I enjoyed it because of that. That's why I enjoyed that more than Tenet, because it had that human connection, whereas that was completely missing from Tenet. And then the other kind of human connection story that he had, which is one of my favorites, if not the favorite Nolan movie, is Memento. I love that movie. I think it's
great film.
It's so good on so many levels. Like, it just kind of grips you. And it was so funny because when I went and rewatched it again, from that first moment that the movie starts, I was like, this totally has a video game feel to it, where you wake up in a hotel room as a dude that has no memory. It's just kind of and then you go with this, you're trying to figure out what's going on, and the way the movie flows from the backwards, to, again, masterfully done with the time. I mean, Nolan's obsessed with time and time management. He does that so much in his movies. So he just masterfully did that with Memento as well, where I think he always has been trying to capture Memento in so many ways. It was just so good. It's so good. I can't even. I mean, what did you think of that movie?
I think it's one of his best. Here, let me see where I ranked it. It is, after I seen that film, anything Nolan did after that, it was like, okay, I'm gonna see what he does, because I'm like, that film is terribly, horrendously underrated. It should have gotten way more press and acclaim than it did. But I think it is one of those films that has, stood the test of time. It's an independent film, which, I think it had that work. But the concept and the idea, I mean, where you're actually telling a story backwards, you're basically reliving it as the character is experiencing it. Yeah. It is, it's certainly... Here, where did I rank it? I think it's for me, it's kind of a tie between Prestige and Memento, but I think Prestige will take Memento's 4 on my list, but it could easily be 3. I mean, it's right there.
Okay, so what's 1?
Well, The Dark Knight is number 1 for me.
Okay, there you go.
But whether or not it's necessarily his best movie in every regard, it's probably, I guess we're just going by favorite. I don't know, maybe my list is a combination of his favorite and best, but I think The Dark Knight is, because I remember my experience watching that, and it just absolutely blew me away.
Mm-hmm. And Mega Mac brings up another great one. Insomnia is an underrated Nolan movie. One of Robin Williams' greatest performance. I agree, 100%. Great movie. So was The Prestige. Runner agrees with that.
Yeah, The Prestige is amazing.
So good. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to revisit Insomnia and Prestige, which I will do because I want to watch them again. But For me so far though, like for my number one, it was a toss up between Inception and Memento. And I think I think Memento is number one for me so far because it was just so well done. Like it was just so great. And the way, like, and the end, like I don't even want to spoil it now because I know some people haven't seen it, but the way that like
perfect.
When you find out what you find out in the end and you're like, oh my God. And like the excuses you make for yourself and the idea that revenge is not always going to be that thing that you want. It's just, it was so well done. So well done.
I think technically it might be like in terms of the screenplay, in terms of the execution, everything about it. I think it is like, it's about as close to a perfect film as you can get. And so I am saying that it is like for movies as movies go, like it's a 4 out of 4. I mean, it's just perfect.
Yeah, I agree. Even the sound, like the way, like the music, the sound when certain things happen and you can tell that it's Nolan because he's trying to do certain experimentations with even Memento, but it works. Like, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm hooked on this. Like, there's certain things that he tries to do, and you're just like, okay, yeah, this worked. This worked on every level. And the other interesting movie that I like watched recently, I'd never heard of before, that you told me about was Following, was one of his first movies. That movie was also brilliant because there was absolutely no budget. The guy literally like just took a freaking camera and just went full force. And that movie was really interesting because of like the way the story played out as well. I thought that story was really, really cool. And I do recommend everyone watch it so that they can see where he went from to what he is now. Like he is, it's a really cool way to understand how a starting director can do certain things. And there was two things I caught in that movie that was really interesting. One was that Batman sticker on the door of one of the apartments, which I thought was really cool because he goes on to direct the Batman movies. And the other is that the second main character's name is Cobb. So like he kind of he brings that back in his own movies. So like, because Inception, like his main character is Cobb. So like he just kind of, it's like he throws back to that movie and like where he started out. And I thought that was really, really cool.
That is cool.
It was cool to see that because like I'm really glad you suggested I watch it because I was like, it makes you think like that anyone can do that. Like if you want to be a director, if you have a vision, like there's no stopping you because that's what he had. He had a vision and he had a good story and he made it like really, really well. I highly recommend that movie. I think everybody should watch it. It's all shot in black and white. It's very well done. It's a short movie.
The budget was only $6,000.
Yeah.
I mean, even Blair Witch cost somewhere up to like $75,000. So appreciate that, Orville.
Thank you.
Yeah, but going back to Memento, I think Nolan, you could see right there, he has this like fascination with time, but also like our perception of reality and like how frail that is.
Yeah, he did the same thing in The Following because he had 3 different timelines and then he would jump back and forth between the timelines. So at first you were like, wait, what's going on? And then he goes from like the dude, like, at the end of the movie or when he's older to when he's younger and then to the middle and like how it all correlates. And he just does that too. He does the same exact thing even in his first movie. So that's why I'm like, you can tell it's like, it's all Nolan. It's there. That's his thing. That's his jam, like just messing around with time. And that's what I liked about Dunkirk too. That's the only thing I liked about Dunkirk was like that the way that he brought everything together, I thought was really well done. But I was like, come on, man, Tom Hardy, like, he should have been a foot soldier, like not the dude in the plane.
Yeah, well, I think the time thing for Dunkirk was confusing for some people, and I understand. The only reason why I wasn't taken off by it was because hearing that other people were, reading an article that people were confused about it.
Oh, I'm so glad I didn't read that because I liked it. I loved what he did with it. I kind of
It's
like
just kind of, for me, it's like I don't know if it fit in the same way if he incorporated like that time jumping element to the Dark Knight. I just don't know if it, or to the Batman movies, which he does jump around, especially Batman Begins, right? He is jumping around, but it's different than bringing it all together in the third act or something like that. So,
right.
But he does play. He even does play around with it a little bit there. So,
So Runner says his list is Inception, Dark Knight, The Prestige, Batman Begins, and Tenet. But I feel like you haven't seen Memento, or you should, because that list will improve. If I think maybe possibly your list.
I think it's a good list, Runner.
No, that's a good list. I'm actually surprised you've seen so many Nolan films, Runner, because I mean, I'm not surprised you've seen Batman, because Batman, everyone's seen Batman, but like, The Prestige, like that's an older film now. I mean,
it's only 2006. It's not that old.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I feel so old. He says Dunkirk was just slow. Was it? I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Because it's a war movie, though. I feel like war movies are usually a little bit slow, like the pacing. Like 1917 was a little slow at first, but then you get hooked. But yeah, that was a good movie. Okay, so what was your number 2?
Inception. I saw that in IMAX, even though it wasn't even an IMAX movie. But the sound, like it was just an incredible experience. So I think that for me, it's funny because when I seen The Dark Knight, I was at school and I was watching it on my friend's like 10-inch television,
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if a movie can be great on a 10-inch television screen, it might have been like, it was ridiculous. But if it could be great, like, it'll be great anywhere. Then it's funny because Inception was a film that I actually saw in IMAX, and just the sheer experience of it. The music was like Hans Zimmer's score in Inception is it might be one of the best scored Nolan films. And I mean, I think the Dark Knight stuff is scored really well too. But Inception, just had some great. I mean, I just remember sitting in the theater, just blown away by it. So, had I saw it on TV first, on television or rented it, I wouldn't feel exactly the same way about it. But I think I would. It's a really great film.
What's funny is I didn't see Inception in the theater because everybody was like, "Oh my God, Inception." And I was like, I'm not watching this movie because I feel like whenever it's like hyped up, like, a lot, I go against the grain and I don't watch things. I know I'm weird. So then I watched it like years after it was out. And even though I'm like such a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan, I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch this. And I was like, man, that was good. Like, it was so good. I was like, I can't believe I didn't watch it. I felt bad. I was like, I should have watched this in the theater. This was amazing. It was a total missed opportunity. But that's why, like, right after that, I was like, I'm going to Interstellar. Like, I went to Interstellar, like, opening night because I was like, I'm not missing this one. And it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I think a lot of Nolan's, like some of his movies, it's just like you have to see in the theater if you can,
Yeah, Interstellar is a masterpiece. I think it was really well done as well. I think Interstellar for me is 3rd on my list because I was like, because I couldn't decide between Memento and Inception because I was like, okay, 1, 2, either way, it just works. And then the 3rd is Interstellar. And then 4th, I think, is The Prestige because I remember I really, really, really liked that movie when I watched it. I have to rewatch it again, but I think I put 4th Prestige, and then the 5th one I'm going. Oh, Dark Knight, yeah, Dark Knight. That was really, really good. So like from the Batman Begins one or the Batman like because I know everybody hated the third one.
Yeah.
Did you hate the third one too?
Dark Knight Rises is number 9 on my list, right above Tenet and Dunkirk. So it's I mean, I've seen it in the theater. I just think even though it's like one of Christopher Nolan's weaker films, it still is like it's still better than a lot of crap out there. Like easily, it's not even a question. But it certainly was a disappointment. I remember walking out of the theater, and I think I was like trying to like it and feel good about it, but I just was like, it just didn't hit,
Yeah.
So it's funny because so a friend of mine, we were walking out of the theater, and there was like these 3 guys in front of us, and one guy's like, well, that sucked. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it too.
Oh my God. Do you think it was because, do you think it has something to do with the fact that Heath Ledger passed away and then he couldn't bring the Joker back?
No. You know what? I'm tired of hearing this excuse that that's the reason. It was like, oh, it could never top, the Dark Knight because, and granted, I do think on some level that was probably out of the question, but it didn't mean that the movie had to have like 1,000 plot holes. The whole idea was like stupid. I mean, this is it's just like the idea of like, yeah, we're gonna get these cops, we're gonna get them stuck in this sewer here, we're gonna trap them there, but we're still gonna feed them, because keeping hope alive is the worst form of torture. And it's like, no, it's not. The worst form of torture is like letting them starve to death.
Yeah.
And it just ellipses like the amount of time that is like 5 months that these people were in the sewers. Do you know how much, how unsanitary of a situation that would be? And what
they
kind
didn't
of
have COVID back then, so they didn't really think about it. They're like, eh.
Yeah, no one just like, 5 months passed. It's like, what the fuck? Like, there's so many WTF moments in that movie. Oh, let's talk about cops without guns running face head on to criminals with semi-automatic weapons and just getting, it's like, none of them would be left. I mean, this is just like,
he foresaw the future. Was they defunded the police, and then that's what happened.
It's. See, I can't even respond to your jokes because I'm like the movie's just so bad. Like it's just bad in a lot of ways. But again, I will say this: Nolan still is able to hit. Like it's almost like Nolan's like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about like reality too much because I'm going to try to pull for that emotional impact. And in some ways, he manages to do it. There is like the scene of. It's like Bruce Wayne faking his death. I thought Alfred crying, though. Michael Caine, one of his worst scenes I've ever seen him in, where he's like crying at the grave. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And then Natalia or whatever her name was, like her death scene was just like, she just like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but I heard that Nolan isn't a director that does. He usually won't do more than 4 takes or something like that. He just doesn't do a ton.
Oh my God, that's funny. It's like you either get it or you don't. Whatever, we're wrapping it up. Curtis says Prestige had Batman and Wolverine. It had to be good. That's true. They were both in there.
The Prestige, it really is. That's another film that I think is, if it's not perfect, it's pretty freaking near perfect.
It was really very well done. I remember I really enjoyed it when I watched it. Curtis also says Bane was not written properly. And he, before he asked if we were familiar with the Bane character from the comics. Well, as you can see from John's background, I know that he's very much into comics. So
there's Bane up there. You can see right there. But, well, I mean, honestly though, I didn't fall, I followed the Nightfall storyline, but I know Bane was obviously a character before then. And so I know he was taking this drug, Venom or something like that, that would make him incredibly strong. That's never, Nolan's like, yeah, I don't have to explain how this guy's like punching walls and like he's literally like breaking shit with his fist. And it's like, I mean, realistically, I'm like, I don't even know Batman. I don't know. I mean, here's another thing about Dark. Bane breaks his back. He breaks his fucking back, puts him in prison. Then you've got some magic chiropractic, like person next to him, able to fix his back. I mean, Batman comes back. I mean, it's just like,
that's the part that I didn't like at all about it, was the whole like broke his back and then he like gets fixed in prison. I was like, what is this?
Well, that's why he needed the 5 months. That's why no one's like, shit, I got to have 5 months here. But it totally messes with all the, like, everything. Now, I can believe that Bruce Wayne can find himself, get back from the Middle East to Gotham. I can believe that. That wasn't so much of a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole idea that, his back is just broken.
I thought that was the stupidest part of the whole movie. I was like, if you have a broken back, that's like, there's no way you're climbing a fucking wall like anytime soon. It's not happening.
Yeah, it's just, in this prison. What kind of prison is this? They have rooms, but they can just leave them whenever they want. Like it's just, again, I don't like to nitpick over this stuff too much, but the problem is when you see, you can have one or two of those type of things in your movie and you'll be okay. But the problem is when you start stacking up the WTFs, like, that's when it's like, all right, it's becoming, this is too hard for me to even buy. I get it's fictional, but we do need some level of reality
here. That's the thing too, like that's why, like, I don't necessarily like, I excuse that when it comes to like Interstellar, but I don't excuse it for something like Batman because you have source material when it comes to Batman. So it's not like, it's not his original story that like, he's like, writing the story and it's like, oh, this about this Batman, like, that he's made up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there is a source material. He could easily go to that material and draw from it, but he just like made his own shit up. And you're like, what? Like,
well, he did draw, like, throughout all the Batman movies, there are things that were loosely taken from the comic books. It's not that he didn't, but it's just like these, for Interstellar, I think it's fine because like science, it's science fiction, it's not science fact, it's science fiction. So it's like, but if you have, I guess that's just like with the Dark Knight, again, just so many, like it's conveniences. That's the problem with it. It's like, oh, how convenient that, Bruce Wayne, after his back is broken, has somebody, right in the next cell who knows how to, literally fix it in seconds. And then what kind of food are these prisoners getting? Like, what the fuck? Where's this food coming from?
Yeah.
And how is Bruce Wayne getting this kind of nutrition?
Exactly. Like, how nutritious is the food that he's
to come back and beat the shit out of Bane? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, again, it's almost laughable. Like when you take Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and then Dark Knight Rises, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just such an anomaly compared to those first two films. Which again, the other, like, for instance, Dark Knight has this moment where Joker lets Rachel, basically throws her out the window. Mm-hmm. Batman goes after her. Well, it's like, shit, Batman, he's still up there. You can go get him, but we just cut to the next scene. But the thing was, with The Dark Knight, it was so great that you didn't even pick up on that shit till after like the second or third viewing. You just like, it was just on to the next thing. I mean, and that's fine because like you can have moments like that. But again, once you start piling them up, that's when it becomes an issue. And it's just like, that's for me is like The Dark Knight Rises was like, they started piling up pretty quickly. And we were just barely past the mid mark. So
Well, and that's what I mean by like the source material situation, like what you were mentioning about Bane and like the whole like him being drugged and everything. Cause I remember like he didn't do that. And I was like, isn't that like kind of like the integral part of what makes Bane as a character? Like that he like that's what gives him his strength and he's like, that's him. So like
yeah,
I just feel like him not taking from that source material kind of like takes that away. Whereas he did so well with the Joker. Like he took like Joker, like Heath Ledger as the Joker was one of the best Jokers. I mean, arguably, if not the best. I mean, next to the new one with Joaquin Phoenix. But like it was such a contrast. Like when you went from like having done such a great villain to like going to Bane, where Bane is like, I mean, it's also a very loved, Batman character,
sure.
and completely destroyed in that movie. And you're like, what the hell? Like, why did he do this?
Well, I mean, the great thing about Joker is like the power of him is his mystique. Like, and I love the fact that Nolan didn't explain anything about him. It makes him all the more horrifying. And the fact that he's giving these different explanations for his scars, makes him this irreliable narrator. And you can't trust him. Like, you can't trust him at all. He's just like chaos embodied. And that works for the Joker. But I think for Bane, you can't go down that route of like, we're not going to explain him because, and they they explain a little bit of his story a little bit later on in the film. But again, technically how he does get his power and his strength, I think it's important to bring that up because the guy is freaking like breaking brick walls and shit. Like he's like literally, if he lands a punch on Batman, he's gonna like knock his freaking head. Like,
I mean, he broke Batman's back.
Super Cuban. Yeah.
Wow. We have
that was a scene. That was a scene that I did like though. I thought it was one of the like in isolation. That scene is really cool.
Well, and that was part of the comic book too, because I know that he does do that to Batman in one of the comic books. Kingslayer, though, coming in hot with that comment.
That's a hot take for sure.
Yeah, that's a hot take for sure, because here we are like ranting how that movie sucks, and then he's like, no, sorry. Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. We like different kinds of comments in the chat. That's all cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Runner says Joker was great in Dark Knight, but it was a more grounded take on the character. I like that's why. Okay, who's your favorite Joker? Heath Ledger, Joaquin, or
I think it's apples, the oranges, the pears. I mean, I think Nicholson is great in the original. I think obviously Ledger is great. And then, I'm going with the easy answer here. I think they're all great within their own films. I think they're all hitting at this, like, even Nicholson back then for what there was with the character. I mean, if you watch his performance, like it's just, it's an amazing performance. And I think they're just like all up there.
I think I actually like Nicholson the best for me, because I like that style of like the comical, like I like that style personally. It's like a personal thing. But I mean, like when it comes to like a darker, more psychotic Batman, then Joker, then like Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix are great. But I just like that really comical, like, purple suit, like, that thing was for me, like what made the Joker. And I really like Nicholson's take on it personally. I mean, going back to Nolan movies though, he's such a hit and miss guy. Like, some of his stuff is like brilliant. And then in like some other stuff, you're like, what are you doing? Do you believe Nolan, just generally speaking, like he is such a hit and miss director? Like in some movies, you're like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And in some movies, you're like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Well, I mean, the one thing I like about Nolan though is that like he's gonna go for it, like no matter what. Like you
Mhm.
could tell he is just what like the scene in Interstellar. I'm thinking more of the quote, like man's reach. What is it? Extends his grasp or something like that. But that's Nolan in a nutshell. Like Nolan is going to just, I don't want to say go over the top, but he is going to,
He is
he's going
going
to put
over.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at Tenet. That's him going
He's
over the
swinging.
top.
He's swinging
Everything.
for the fences,
He is.
and that's what I like and appreciate is like he's willing to take the chances, and he's willing to go for, he's willing to go for that emotional, like that just grand slam. And sometimes it works. I think a lot of times, his films just work in general, but I don't think I don't know so far if you go like hit or miss, because as much as Dunkirk is really like, just like it's the least Nolan-esque movie for me. Like it feels like the least Nolan movie. But, even though I didn't care for Dark Knight Rises, like I appreciate the effort, and I can still watch the movie. And
So
and
it's not like The Last Jedi where you're like, oh fuck no.
No, it's not. It's not anywhere near that. And even Tenet is another film where it's like I might rewatch it at some point, but I think it's unfair to say like Nolan is just hit or miss. I know we've been like crapping on Nolan's movies for a good part of the stream, but it's like
no. I admire him a lot.
Yeah, but I think I think Nolan's probably his percentage is well, out of these 11 movies, I have 3. In my opinion, that are bad. The rest are good, if not great. So that's pretty good to have.
And
like
some of them are like brilliant. Like Memento's brilliant.
Well, that's
man.
what
like,
I'm saying.
Yeah. Like
He's got like 4 or 5 like great films. He's at least got 4 great films, in my opinion, and the rest are, you could argue that, like. Well, this is my list. I got Dark Knight, Inception, Prestige, Memento, Interstellar, Batman Begins, Insomnia, Following. And so all those movies, like the first 4 or 5 that I listed, I put them up there as great. And then his last, Dark Knight Rises, Tenet, and Dunkirk are really the only films that I think are his, they're not great. I don't think they're even bad. They're just not, they're not nearly as good as anything else that he's done.
Now, do you think that, like, because I've heard some rumors that talk about how, like, Nolan's next film is going to tie in Tenet with Inception, like the worlds collide kind of thing. Like he's thinking of doing a movie where, kind of like not Avengers, but you know what I'm saying? Like that, like he's introducing like same universe kind of concept. Do you think that that's true? Like, do you think that he could do something like that?
I don't want him to.
I don't either.
Let every movie be its own thing, and that's the thing about Tenet is like, even though I didn't like it, it still felt like its own world.
Yeah.
What's up, Reddy?
Hey, Reddy.
So,
that's what I like about it. That's what I like about Nolan movies, because I like that you can watch, well, except for like Batman, with the exception of like the Batman, because it was like a trilogy. But like usually you can watch Nolan movies and it's like every single movie is a standalone movie, and I really like that about his thing. So I don't want him to. And then to like merge 2 very complicated ideas, like, because you got like, okay, Tenet is just like, far left, and you're like, oh my God, I can't even understand what the hell's going on. And then to like,
oh yeah,
to merge it with Inception, where you have another crazy idea. It's like, what are you doing? Like, no, I wouldn't like that at all.
Yeah, Tenet almost felt like, and I heard this word used before, like Tenet was almost like a parody of his previous films. And it's like it did feel like it. Like it's just like, whoa, man! Like take a step back here. Like
it was like rein it in, Nolan, like rein it in a little bit. And like, so that's why when I hear rumors like, okay, yeah, he's going to mix them, I'm like, okay, instead of reining it in, this guy's like, no, I'm not only not going to rein it in, like I'm going like,
Foot on the gas completely.
I'm going to put the pedal to the metal and just, go. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting either way because he is brilliant. So I mean, I wonder if he could pull it off. If he did, that would be funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Merging those two concepts, I just don't think. It's too much. But going back, I thought Dark Knight Rises or the third Batman movie was like such a missed opportunity because if you think about it, the Dark Knight leaves off on the police, the pursuit, the cops are after Batman. So that to me is like that's the best point to pick up on. You don't have to pick up on like right at that moment. You could do, but I mean, don't jump 8 years ahead, because like a film that was about the police, especially red hot pursuit of Batman throughout the entire film, because they think he's guilty for the death of Harvey. Plus, you have Gotham completely against him at that point. That's where like all the drama would be at, like right after that shit went down. Instead, Nolan goes to peacetime. And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, why the fuck would you start here? Why would you put it 8 years in the future? It's just like...
I love how you get so mad.
Well... Because obviously I have convictions about this shit. But I think, now this is what's crazy, and this is where I think Nolan was, the few times that Nolan was wrong. Warner Brothers wanted him to do the Riddler, and they had even brought up the idea of Leonardo DiCaprio. And Nolan wanted to, he wanted to test Batman physically with Bane, which I understand. I get that. But the thing is, I think Batman works best when he is psychologically tested, rather than physically tested. That's why the Joker was so great. So what should you do?
That's why the Riddler is really good too. Because
Well, people are like, some people would say, well, the Riddler, he's just a poor man's Joker. He's not. I'm like, fuck that shit, man. No, you could take the Riddler up to, you can make him as intricate and as like fucking mind bending as possible in terms of like his riddles. And this would like totally fit with Nolan. Like this is right down his freaking alley.
Totally.
Like, you could make the Riddler an absolute genius. And I just happen to think like that's what should have happened. You put the movie right after The Dark Knight, where Gotham is in absolute turmoil. Everybody hates Batman. The cops hate him. The citizens hate him. And then comes along, this character, that emerges. I mean, it could have been freaking, just epic. And instead we got The Dark Knight Rises. But, which is, it's an epic take. Like, it's an epic effort for sure. But...
Toxic Manflu says, I'm surprised anyone can make a top 5. Why? Christopher Nolan is a brilliant director. He has a lot of really good movies under his belt. And like, I just feel like, I mean, you have to be a movie connoisseur to appreciate it, which I am, because I like, there are certain directors that I really admire, and like one of them is Christopher Nolan because of his reach. Like he really does reach, and he's creative, and he goes for it. And I like, that's why Tenet was disappointing for me, because I was like, oh, Christopher Nolan's going for it. Like, let's see this. And then I was just like, oh no, this was a miss. But I admire the fact that he goes for it. And I think that like, whenever he brings out a movie, I'm gonna see it. Like, if it's whatever, it's got a Nolan, thing attached to it. I'm there. I'm watching it
for sure,
because it's just like he can be very good, and even when he's bad, he's still good. Like, it's just he's got a vision, and I appreciate him. And I appreciate any director that like does that. Another one for me is, for example, Wes Anderson, because I think that like Wes Anderson's a great director, has a very specific vision, just like Nolan has with this time thing. When you're watching a Wes Anderson movie, you know you're watching a Wes Anderson movie. It's just like that style and the way he does it. So I think like, you know, those people are brilliant. And now I haven't seen Insomnia for a while, but like, what are your thoughts? Because I know you recently saw Insomnia. So what are your thoughts about that movie?
It's good. I mean, it's not nearly. It's probably the most conventional of Christopher Nolan's movies, but the reason for that being is he didn't write it.
Okay.
You know, so it does have, like, you could see it. I'll say this: it's a little difficult to actually see the marks of Christopher Nolan in that film. You know, because he didn't write it. You know, that like otherwise you probably would know. But Wally Pfister, his cinematographer that was with Nolan from Memento to pretty much to The Dark Knight Rises. So I think from like 2000 to 2012, like the photography in that movie is excellent. Like Wally Pfister actually wound up winning for Inception because, you know, so that in that aspect, but the performances are really good. Pacino and you know, Robin Williams are great. It's a very solid movie. I don't think it's I think it's a good film, but it's just not you know, when you compare it to some of other Nolan's movies, like it's you know, it just is like it's a detective story.
Right.
And it's pretty generic. The script is really good though. Like I'm not you know, I'm certainly not putting down the film in any way, shape, or form. And it's got some really great sequences. But when you just think about like what Christopher Nolan does in his other movies, it's but if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend just check it out. I think you need to see it, especially for like Pacino almost is just taking over the movie. Like it doesn't even matter if it's like Christopher Nolan or not.
It was great. Yeah. I mean, both the performances. And I remember, like, for me, well, I'm an insomniac, which I like to call myself a night owl so I don't come off as a freak weirdo like the guy in Insomnia. But so I really like, you know, I connected with that movie on a very deep level because I was like, man, I feel this dude.
You know what's funny is like so I finished watching that film at probably like, gosh, what was it, 6 a.m. or 7? I mean, it was late or early, however you want to look at it. And I literally could not fall asleep after seeing that freaking movie. Like I was like dead tired. I brushed my teeth before going to bed, and I don't know if that just made me a little bit more awake. And then I'm trying to fall asleep, and it was like I could not fall asleep for the life of me. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, did this have anything to do with watching Insomnia? I don't know. But then I just wound up like pulling it all there.
Oh my God, that's so funny because something similar happened to me. And mind you, I don't talk politics on my channel, but for this next 2 minutes, this is going to get a little bit political. But so the night I watched Memento, right after that, like I was like, I'm going to take a break for a minute. And then like I came onto your stream, your midnight hour stream, and you were talking about all that stuff with, you know, that video with the red wall and, you know, all this stuff. And then there was people in the chat saying that Donald Trump was still president. And I was like, wait, okay. I went to watch Memento. My memory serves me. And, you know, like that I'm pretty sure Biden's president. And then now I come back to the stream and people are like telling me that Donald Trump is still president. What the hell happened? Like, it was just like the weirdest, like, it was the weirdest hour of my life. Like, I was like, huh? Like, you know, and it was a Nolan moment. It even solidified Memento even more. Cause I was like, what the hell just happened in the last, like, you know, hour that I went into this movie? It was weird.
There's an interesting phenomenon going on. I don't know. I can't But that's the frailty of our perception, right? I guess, or well, that's like
100%.
Memento, right? You believe what you want to believe, or you believe what is convenient, or you believe what, and that's kind of, if you haven't seen the film, I don't think we're giving anything away, but it's a really, just see it. It's so freaking
You
good.
have to see it. I mean, it was just so surreal for me because I was like, when something happens to you and then that at the same time that you're watching the movie and then you're like, what the why? Why? And you're like, it just makes you even appreciate it even more because I was like, my perception and my memory is completely I feel like where's my pictures? I was trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Is this the Mandela effect here or something?
Yeah, totally. I'm like, did reality change? Am I in the Matrix? What the fuck's going on? But I know Kai, I had told Kai to watch Memento before the stream, and he did. So he says Memento was good, not as hard to keep track of as people led me to believe. No, I mean, I thought it was a brilliant movie. It's not one of those super complicated ones. It's the timing of it is really interesting, but it all converges together brilliantly in the end. And then I think more than you trying to figure out what's going on, it's more about what this character did and will do after because of what happened to him. That there's never any end to it. He's just gonna keep going.
Yeah, and I think
that guy.
Sorry, Nina. I think it's really he's speaking to our human nature, right? Just how in these moments of time where if you're see, I don't want to give away the movie, but
yeah, I know it's it's difficult.
But he is speaking about the human experience and just how and if you think about it, how things are connected, how you could start one place here, and if you make a decision, where do you wind up here, and how far off? I mean, there's just. I'm not going to say anything. See the movie. See Memento if you haven't already. It's
for sure. I mean, especially
it's one of the best movies you'll see in a long time.
Exactly, especially in this day and age when everyone's talking about how movies are so shitty. Go back and watch good movies like Memento, The Prestige, Insomnia. These are very good movies that they're not too confusing, and it just gives it's a thrill from beginning to the end. And I absolutely think they're wonderful movies. Kai says the movie did a great job of piecing it together for the audience the way he was piecing it together himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I was saying this earlier, Kai, that it reminded me of a video game. It's when you wake up and then you have no memory, the classic video game story of a dude waking up with no memory and then trying to piece everything together. I mean, can you imagine they make a Memento video game? I would totally play that.
Well, I think it's funny that you say that because I think his brother, I think this was a concept that they were, somehow it was related to a video game, and I can't remember.
It's his brother's short story, I believe.
Okay.
His brother wrote the short story and he made the movie from it.
Yeah, it's really just a great concept.
So great. Curtis says, does Nolan have anything left? Oh yeah. I feel like I don't know. I feel like he's just getting started. Especially now that with Tenet and everything that he did there, it was so grand. I think he's just gonna come back and build on that, possibly that's the thing about Nolan. He's always trying to outdo himself. I think the only person that he competes with is himself.
It's
so
true.
He's he's like, well, I did Tenet. Some things worked, some things didn't. I'm going to go back the next one, and I'm going to outdo this one. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what he comes out with. Hey, Culture. Thank you for being here.
Hey, what's up, Culture?
Says John, I think most Nolan movies require so intellect to understand, and no wonder so many folks have trouble with them. And that's true too, because it requires patience. It requires, being able to follow a storyline. Which is why I think that like Tenet didn't do as well for me, because it didn't he himself didn't follow his like his own, you know, blueprint as much as his other films. Now, like when it came to Inception, he followed that blueprint a lot more. But I feel like that's why I feel like Inception was really brilliant, because in the end, it wasn't just like when I rewatched it, I even thought that it has layers, because it's not just that it was this movie about this heist and that they're trying to plant this thing and this and that. It's also about this man's grief, and it's actually just a character study of Cobb's way of dealing with his grief. Like one way of looking at this movie is that you can see it all as being Cobb's dream, and that, you know, even in the end, he didn't wake up from it. You know, it was just it's one of those things where the perception of the audience matters so much to the story, and how like you perceive things is really important. So you can put that onto it, and that's why he never explains it himself. Like he's never come out and said like exactly what he thinks. Like he said in one of the articles apparently that he thinks that it was reality, like that he had gone back to reality. But if you go watch it carefully, it doesn't seem like that. So
well, it's left open, and I mean that's how I like it. I like, you know, and it's great. That's one of the great things about that movie too, how it ends. It's like, you know, it's open for the audience's interpretation. Like he never, and he should never say it. He should never say one way or the other. It's kind of like Joker in the same way, where, you know, was he the child of Thomas Wayne, or was he, you know, different things where it's like this unreliable narrator. And so Cobb is certainly an unreliable narrator. So it's, yeah, but it's, you know, I think it's interesting because you can see these parallels too that Nolan is making in that film about when he talks about, you know, you think, you know, it's almost like parallels to like these dreams, you know, so there's like reality and fiction. And then he's talking about, you know, you still think that she's up there or down there, you know, it's like almost parallels to like religion and these ideas of, but also too, there's this interesting thing that Nolan winds up bringing up where like, it's like where Cobb and his wife, they go, what they're gone for like 50 years or something, but really it's a matter of minutes.
Yeah. They grew old together in their reality that they made themselves.
Yeah.
And then he planted the Inception idea in her brain so that they can leave it, but then it carried on to the real world.
Yeah, it reminded me of like drug addicts though. Like once they woke up, you know, they were like coming off the floor or something. Like it reminded me of people that were just hooked on drugs. And then,
well, they did use heavy drugs in the movie too, because the guy was, you know, they always had a chemist, and then they would use these heavy drugs. And I actually thought that was really interesting too, because there was like when they went to like recruit their chemist, they went to like the basement where these people lived inside the dream, and he was like, that's their reality. Like, you know, they don't, you know.
Who are you to say?
Exactly. And he looks at Cobb and he goes, who are you to say? And I think that in itself, like, it's like as if that was all his dream. It's like he's trying to basically like, you know, there's different parts of his mind that's trying to justify what he's doing himself, which is that he's living inside his own dream. And it's just,
it's certainly a fun way to view it that way. Yeah. And even this scene too, where he's being chased by, because that's what I thought. Like, even when I was originally watching the movie, I was still like trying to figure it out. And I'm like, I think he's in a dream. Like, I think that this is a dream. And, you know, like the scene where he's running from the cops and the wall starts like closing in on him, or it gets like narrower and stuff like that. Those would be something like this. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I love it though. Even like the Prestige kind of hits home too, like at the very end, like how it ends.
I should have watched The Prestige. I didn't have time, but I'm gonna watch it. I'm definitely watching it again because like like with memory and all that. Like that's the other thing. Like in Memento, I love how he's talking about like how memory is so subjective and this you don't remember certain things and
Yeah.
then that's why it's so fun to rewatch movies, especially like when you grow older, like you see things totally different with a totally different lens. And that's why I really love his movies, because you always see it through a different lens. Because I remember the first time I saw Inception, I didn't see any of the stuff that I saw this time, like just rewatching it, because I feel like I've gone through a different kind of like evolution myself and my mentality, that so like I can watch his movies and think of it differently.
Sure.
And I love that. Like when an actor does stuff like that, I feel like I really dig that about directors that do that kind of stuff. Nina, what the hell? The Prestige is amazing. I've seen it like when it first came out, so I just need to rewatch it. I know that I remember I really, really liked it when it first came out, and I remember that it came out at the same time as another kind of like magic movie, which was called like The Illusionist. Yeah. And I remember I was like, I like The Prestige way more. Like I was when I was in the Prestige camp, not the Illusionist camp. But I remember I really enjoyed that movie.
It's definitely. I mean, I haven't even seen The Illusionist, and I have no desire to, because it's just so like Nolan. Like, but that's the thing about The Prestige. Even though it's like complex in terms of like, there's a lot of things that are. He's messing with time, and there's a lot of things that he's throwing at you. Mm-hmm. Like you never get lost.
Yeah.
You're always able to keep up with the film. Tenet was a film where it was just like, like wait, we need to go back. We need to go
Tenet pissed me off on
I got it, but I feel like he didn't flesh out enough of the world too, in terms of like these other characters that were involved. It's like the antagonist in the film, like she didn't get fleshed out enough. It's just kind of like, boom, there she is. And then we move up. Like, it's like, yeah, the movie moves almost at like a breakneck pace in a bad way.
In a bad way. And then they had like that weird, like, there was certain things about it where like you, like in Tenet, when there were certain things about it that was so predictable. Like, for example, like him, like,
fighting himself.
When he fought himself, I was like, oh God, that is so going to be him in the past or whatever.
Yeah, I already guessed that too. I was
immediately. And then I was like, oh God, like, what is he doing? And then he does this, like that whole technology with the backwards bullet thing. I was like, dude, what? Like, no.
That was too much for me. I'm like, no, you're jumping the shark.
Yeah.
Like this just does not, like something like this. Like, I'm like, you're just going too far.
Like, I'm like, even if you're going to do this, right? Like, I need more from you. Like, I need you to explain to me how you get from point A to point B. Like, this technology needs way more fleshing out. Like, even the Inception technology was kind of like easily understood. You have a freaking drug thing. You induce yourself, go inside a dream, connect it to everybody else. Done.
But that's for some reason. In somebody in the chat, perhaps like, feel free to comment on why, but that you can like, okay, well, that's just how it is. Cool. But if you have bullets that move backwards, like into people's hands that shoot into guns, like that was just like, I'm cool with everybody moving, people being able to move backwards through time. Mm-hmm. That I can believe, but bullets that can move backwards, that were manufactured that, like, I'm like, no, that's just like too, like, it's just too out there.
Too much.
Yeah. Especially to open up with. Like, that was like your introduction.
Apparently David Bowie passed away.
Yeah, he passed away a little while ago.
That's, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was great as Tesla, too, in The Prestige.
Oh, yes, that's true. Oh, my God, I've forgotten this movie. I need to watch it again. Oh my God. Okay. Is there anything else you want to discuss about Nolan's films?
Let's see. Because I watched The Prestige, I watched Insomnia recently, and what was the other film that I watched? Oh, Interstellar.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, we could just open up to the chat, I guess, if there's anything that they want us to talk about.
Yeah. If you guys have anything else that you guys want to talk about, yeah, Tesla in The Prestige was awesome. I mean, I love Tesla in general, like as a human being. I think that see, that would be a cool movie if like Nolan did like a movie just about Tesla and like his like an alternate reality where he survived and the technology that he would create. Like that would be cool. There you go, Christopher Nolan. I'm giving you ideas. Um, Rennie says Prestige. The Nolan Batman films and Inception are my uh, 5 picks. Those are great. Those are great. I mean, I really like Inception, man. That movie. I was watching it last night, and I was just like, this is good.
Yeah.
Toxic Manflu says the Prestige was great. Runner says great stream and discussion. Well, thank you, Runner.
Yeah, thanks, Runner. Appreciate that, man.
We have Shane Nolan says they did a movie about Tesla last year. Yeah, but that was like, Tesla versus what's his name? The electric light bulb dude. What was his name?
Oh, Edison.
Edison.
Yeah.
Edison versus Tesla or whatever. That's not fun. We want like alternate reality Tesla, like where like some sort of steampunk universe where like his technology wasn't stolen and like burned and kept inside a bunker that we'll never use because reasons. Just we need a director that goes out and reaches for that kind of thing, which I think Nolan can do well. Because his mind, I mean, like, dude, the guy's nuts. Even like him making Tenet again, it's a reach, but like it was a good reach, like good try.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because so recently I was watching this review of this comic book called 1963, and I talked to you about this. If actually, I don't know where, it's probably in one of or my long box that I got in the closet there, but. In this comic book 1963, Alan Moore had this concept of somebody walking backwards, or from the perception of the characters, they were actually going backwards through time. So I'm like, I wonder if Nolan, I'm just wondering where he got this like backwards concept from, because I was looking at this review, I'm like, holy crap, that is in that comic book, and so he very well might have gotten it, that idea.
He's clearly a comic book fan. I mean, I know he's a Batman fan. So maybe he read that and kind of like,
it's possible. Yeah. He could have,
Gen X says, nah, Tesla time travel film where he didn't die, but went to the future that was ready for his technology. See, that would be cool. I would like to see a movie like that. Come on, Christopher Nolan. Don't let me down. Let's go. This is your next topic here. And it's got time in it. Time travel.
It has to have time.
It has to have some sort of time. Let's see here. The crazy Tesla. Yeah, that I don't know. I just think he's a fascinating character. Toxic Manflu says, I could bottom 10 Nolan films. Please let us know what all of your favorite Nolan films. Perfect name to a movie, Steampunk Tesla. I think so.
You better copyright that, Nina.
I should. You heard it here first, folks. Take care, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yes, please smash that like, everybody. Thank you, Rennie. Galford Dog says, "Great, John. You've spoiled Tenet for me. Now I've got Eternal Sunshine." He also stole the plot of Inception from an anime called Paprika. Paprika is an amazing anime. Have you ever seen that, John?
No, I haven't.
It's really good.
No, I haven't.
It's really good. It's one of those time loop kind of animes. Same with the Girl Who Leapt Through Time. They're really good, kind of like time loop story ones. I really like Paprika though. That was a really good story. Eternal Sunshine is by, what's the director that made that?
Well, it was the writer Charlie Kaufman.
Charlie
I forgot who
Kaufman,
directed.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My God, Charlie Kaufman. That guy's nuts.
Yeah.
Speaking of freaking weirdo directors, that guy. Watch his new movie on Netflix. That movie was messed up too.
Was it?
Oh my
Thinking
God,
of ending
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird. I was like, I needed a couple days to like
Process it.
just process that movie. And then I was like, I hate this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to say, like, since I thought Being John Malkovich was great, I thought Adaptation was incredible.
I loved Adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, what was his third? Oh, then he did Eternals. I think he did Spotless Mind after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think he just had trouble getting work. Seneca, New York. Well, he did actually. I take that back. He wrote and directs Seneca. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. And yeah, that just wasn't. It just didn't.
I heard that was a flop.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It just wasn't nearly as good as his other movies.
Runner says, I still don't think Tenet is as bad as some people say it is, but it had its flaws. It was a cool experience. I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Like, that's all it's about. Like, you know, when you watch a movie, as long as you enjoy it, that's the you know.
Yeah, don't care what we say, man.
Yeah,
seriously.
who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, like, yeah.
I mean, if you think it's awesome. You know.
Yeah, as long as you enjoy it. That's why I say, like, even people who are like, I like The Last Jedi, and I'm like, well, I mean, you're allowed to be wrong. That's okay.
I mean,
no, go
even,
ahead.
even when it, no, I've said this. Even when it comes to Last Jedi, like, if you like it, man, don't let me rain on your parade. Please don't. Seriously,
100%.
Like, I don't. You know, I mean, that's how. You know, if somebody doesn't like a movie that I really like, it's like you're probably not gonna be able to persuade me otherwise. But you know, I mean, it's all right. I mean, that's it. Like, as passionate as I am about this stuff, it should be all in good fun too.
I love how passionate you are about the Batman movies. It's like I haven't seen you get that passionate about anything like other than politics so far until we started talking about fucking Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, my I might be more pissed off about the Dark Knight Rises than sending billions of dollars overseas, you know.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Like I almost want to like just highlight that entire stretch where you talked about the Dark Knight Rises and just, you know, that was amazing. That was beautiful. Rennie says Robert Pattinson sucks. Okay. I don't think he's that bad. So I'm guessing you're not looking forward to Robert Pattinson as Batman, Rennie? Patman?
Sparklebat.
Sparklebat.
I'm open to it. Like, personally, I'm open to it.
I think it's gonna depend on the script, man. Like, I think Robert Pattinson's a good actor. I think he can pull it off if he's got a good script.
The script is the foundation that the house is built on. Like, you can't take a bad, like a director can F up a good script. Like, that's possible, but you can't take a bad script and make a good movie. It is impossible.
Impossible.
It doesn't matter who's directing. It doesn't matter if it's Chris Nolan. It doesn't matter if it's Spielberg or whoever. Like, you can't take a bad script and make it a good movie. It's not possible unless you rewrite it, of course. So.
Yeah, you need a good writer. It all starts with the script. XCOM 54 is asking what Nolan's doing right now anyway. That's a good question. I have no idea.
Here, let's see. Here, I'll Google it.
Okay. Curtis says, I heard the Pattinson Batman is shelved permanently. What? No way. They were halfway through production already. No, they're coming out with that for sure.
Yeah.
Eternal Sunshine is pretty good. Yeah, that was one of his best movies. Yeah, Satoshi Kon did Paprika. Yeah, Paprika was a great movie.
I don't think there's anything. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything on the. Nothing that I can find here. Everything says that Tenet was his last film, or that was his upcoming film. So, and I'm not really seeing anything else.
I think he's just gonna chill for now, like because he made Tenet, and then that's the other thing too. He made Tenet, and then Koof happened, and so like it didn't do as well as it might have if that whole thing hadn't been a thing. So like it didn't make a lot of money. It was a bit of a flop in that sense, and then of course he had all the drama about people like me being like, dude, your audio sucked. So he's probably like kind of I hope he's going back to the drawing board with the audio thing, because man, like, come on, Nolan, you need to rein it in with the audio. The thing is like, I just think he's so brilliant and so many things that like this whole thing with his audio obsession just drives me nuts, because I'm like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, Nolan. Like you already have so many things going for you. Like I understand that he wants to like get you to be even more hooked, but it just sometimes that's too much. Like, you can't have all the senses just overwhelmed.
Titillated. Yeah, I mean, I watched on I think it was Amazon or whatever. I had subtitles, so the audio definitely wasn't an issue for me. But I mean, yeah, if you're in the theater trying to understand that movie, that's gonna get annoying.
I couldn't hear a word, John. No joke. There was nothing other than like the entire movie. It was it sounded like a plane was landing in my head the entire time.
Like, I don't want you thinking too much about this movie. I'm just gonna try to.
Yeah, totally. I was like, not only I'm not going to let you understand what I'm doing, I'm going to make it so that you can't even hear me. DJ Scandalous says, I hope that Batman is canceled. He has no passion to commit the character's appearance, nor wants to do sequels. But I don't think it is, though. They've already put enough money into that whole production. I don't think it's going to be canceled. Runner says, Robin Pattinson convinced me that he could play a really great Bruce Wayne after watching Tenet. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, can he play Batman? Bruce Wayne is just, some regular bloke with, a hot accent. It's just, he's just hot. He's a hot rich dude. It's not really that hard to act like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I don't think, it's just going to be one of those things. I mean, we'll see. I think Pattinson, from what I've seen in some of the films he's played in, I think he's up to the task.
I think so too.
But we'll see. I mean,
who's your favorite Batman?
I like Christian Bale. Like, he's a perfect blend of as Bruce Wayne, detached and cold. But I don't know. I even see, that's the thing about Bale, is he doesn't really get, now his Batman voice is kind of yeah. But it is almost comical, and it's so funny that The Dark Knight is even like, the film is still great in spite of like how much that's been made fun of. But I even with that said, I still think that he, I think he is. I do like Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck is. I thought his performance was good. He was just in a bad movie.
Yeah, I thought he was. Again, going back to the script, he had problems. Like that movie
Yeah.
was just terrible.
Yeah. So I'll
Dog,
still say Bale. I think Bale. I
not
think he's got a handle on the character, and people
not
I don't think he gets enough credit for his performance, because everybody, of course, the Joker's going to outshine him. All the villains are going to, they're more interesting, outwardly for sure.
But surprisingly, you didn't say
Keaton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like they were trying to figure out, like, the movie. I really like the movie, and I do think that Keaton's performance is really good, but I've got a bigger pool to pull from when it comes to, you actually got 3 movies and a complete story from, so I think I both buy that they have a silver spoon. They're born with a silver spoon. I buy both of that in those performances, but I think I buy it a little bit more from Christian Bale.
I really like Keaton's Batman a lot, again, because I like that comic style. That's why I like,
Sure.
Nichol's Joker more.
Sure.
But like, if you take the recent Batmans, I think that Christian Bale is an amazing Batman. Like in terms of like how dark the story was, how he played it. I think that he was both a great Bruce Wayne and a great Batman. Like I thought that he just did a really good job. So I'm with you. I think like, and like you said, he was overshadowed by like, Heath Ledger's performance and everything like that. And I don't think he gets enough credit for being such a great Batman. Galford's Dog, though, says Nolan also clearly ripped off A Nightmare on Elm Street,
really?
Dream Warriors, especially when Inception was originally conceived as a horror film. See, I've never seen that movie.
I've never heard that it was conceived as a horror film. Interesting.
That is weird. But also, I've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Johnny Depp that was like one of his first movies, if not his first movie.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, I've never been into like the whole, slasher horror craziness.
Yeah, I'm not really into it. I mean, even if he did, like, there's nothing new under the sun. So this idea that like people have ripped off, like I'm sure Nightmare on Elm Street was probably inspired by or ripped off of something else. It's like everything has a, it's stolen from some previous root of origin. So, the question is, well, who did it better? I mean, that's really the thing. And granted, like Nightmare on Elm Street, like it is what it is. It's a slasher franchise. The first one's really, I mean, I think from what I remember, it's been forever since I've seen the film, but it's scary. But I mean, I think to even try to compare, like Nolan did something that was, and granted, like nothing is completely original, but Nolan did do something that was pretty darn original. Like it feels different from anything else ever done. So, you could say like, oh, Nolan ripped off it. Like, I don't give a shit. Like he presented it in a new way. Like that's what creativity is taking something that is old and doing it in a new way. That's actually creative. Like that's the definition of creative thinking.
That's why I like Nolan, because he always has such a really weird and vision of what sort. I wouldn't call it a ripoff, but I've never seen this movie, The Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I don't know.
It's not. I mean, Inception isn't even a horror film. Like it's not even the same genre. So.
No, but he's saying that apparently it was conceived as a horror film.
Well, it was, but it ultimately wasn't. It wasn't actually like it wasn't. It didn't wind up being that. So it's something totally different.
WB is the only dumbass company that hires these actors for a single movie instead of multiple. Titan says Tenet, the score threw me off. Man, everything and that, like sound wise, in that movie was freaking atrocious.
Did Hans Zimmer do the score?
I think so. The score sucked too, man. It was bad.
It wasn't nearly as. It certainly wasn't memorable. Like
it wasn't
like
captivating.
Interstellar score. I thought was great.
Scott says that Ben Affleck is my Batman. Badass Robert Pattinson. Nope, doesn't work for me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just whenever it comes to like new actors, like new actors, like newish actors doing like repeated characters, I don't want to be like, no, like I would like to give them a chance. If they suck, then I'll be like, man, they sucked. But I don't want to be like that person that's like, I'm not giving you a chance just because you were in Twilight. Like, you know, like that doesn't, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like Heath Ledger. Like when we heard that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, it was like, what? Like this guy's played in these like rom-com type movies, these teen movies. Like,
yeah, and he
Heath
was in a
Ledger?
gay cowboy movie. Like, come on. Like, and then he like became the Joker, and he became like the bar that set the Joker. So you just have to like, you know, sometimes you gotta let them do what they have to do. You can't like hold, like, you know, you can't hold their past, you know, work against them. Yeah, that's what I would like to know. I don't know what you guys are talking about, because as far as I know, that movie's still going ahead. Scott says also Christian Bale is an overrated actor. I disagree. I think he's a great actor.
I mean, he recently did. I mean, love it or hate it, like he recently did a movie where he looks like Dick Cheney. If you've ever seen The Fighter, I mean,
Equilibrium, great movie.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, until you've seen Christian Bale's whole catalog, like I just don't think you could say that. He's even like a film like American Hustle. I mean, there's another one.
Oh my God, that was such a good movie, American Hustle.
Yeah, I mean, just as an actor, like you can't tell me he's overrated. I just.
Yes, American Psycho. Like, dude, like knocked it out of the park. That was a great movie.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie with a bad Christian Bale performance, if I think about it.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, like, he was in The Prestige. He's
The
great.
Machinist, man. This dude he lost how much weight? He's like literally skin and bones.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I actually never seen that film, but that's like the level of dedication. That's how, you know, how crazy is about the.
And he was in Ford versus Ferrari, and that movie was amazing.
Yeah, he was pretty good in that. Yeah. I mean, some of his roles are not, and that's the thing about Bruce Wayne in that role. Like, it's not always about giving this outstanding, like, bombastic, loud performance, right? Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes it's just a matter of like hitting par for the course. Like, are you know, because Bruce Wayne can't be as you know, he's just not going to compete with the Joker in that respect. And that's the thing too, where I think that sometimes people always think like, oh, the more insane and chaotic a role is, like, oh, they're the better actor. But the question is, are you hitting the mark? Like, are you hitting the mark for what your character is supposed to be? And I think that's where, you know, granted, I mean, sure, a lot of Al Pacino movies where he's playing somebody who's crazy or he's playing Scarface, like, you know, he gets to play a fun freaking character that is loud and, you know, energetic and all of these things, but not every role is supposed to be like that. And so when you think about it in terms of like, what is a good performance? Well, a good performance is equal to what the character is supposed to be and should be. And so I think more often than not, and usually the performances that are rewarded, and rightly so, they are those kind of performances that do stand out like that. But it doesn't necessarily take away or mean that, you know, I just think that's how I think of in terms of performances. You know, because of course Heath Ledger's, sure, his performance is just off the chart, but he has the most interesting character in the movie. Aaron Eckhart, though, in that film, in my opinion, is also considerably underrated.
He did great as Two-Face. I thought like he was a really good Two-Face. You know what's funny though is my husband worked with him as an extra on the movie Paycheck, so he like has met that dude.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, when he hates that dude because he was like, dude, this dude is such an asshole. And so like when we watched him as Two-Face, he was like, he's playing himself, especially when he's Two-Face, because he's a fucking asshole. Like, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
had a feeling you were gonna say that too.
Yeah, apparently that guy's a douche. But sometimes, like, I mean, it works. That's why he was a great Two-Face, because apparently he's two-faced. So that's cool. Another monster says, "What the F, John? Watch The Machinist. If you like Memento, you'll dig The Machinist." I haven't seen it either. The only reason I haven't seen it though is because it looks weird. I don't know if I want to watch like some movie with like when he's like all skinny and I like it's just
I guess
too
I'm
much.
just like I don't know. For some reason or another, it's like that doesn't seem like that fun to watch. But
especially like right now, like I feel like in 2020 and 2021, like I need like happier movies or like movies that take me away from here, like Inception. I don't need weird movies where I'm like, oh my God, I want to kill myself now after I watched it.
yeah, I'm trying to stay away from suicidal films, as like films that make me want to kill myself.
Exactly.
Well,
like yeah, that's me. Just no, I'm not interested. Rennie says, seriously, John, see The Illusionist. It is actually pretty good. I agree. The Illusionist is pretty good.
Okay. Edward Norton, right?
Yeah, I agree. It was a good movie. They say it's a mind bender.
Okay.
I guess Machinist. Kai's saying it was so good.
Really?
Okay. So several people are saying The Machinist is a must watch, apparently. Yes, Rennie says, amen. No sad flicks for this chick. Yeah, I'm over this weird, like, I don't know. I just need like better mindsets or like things or movies that make you think like future, like just that we're going to get past this situation, that things are, whether that's in a good way or a bad way. We're going to go out could be like 1984 style, I guess. But
Darren says, and this is probably an older comment. Oh yeah. Nolan is on the downward trend. Dunkirk and Tenet are in the spiral down. He has bought into his own hype.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible. I think that fame does ruin, I don't want to say ruin. That's a very strong word, but
I don't disagree.
Yeah. He is one of those, like you look at Tarantino too. And, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people are still like, Pulp Fiction is still, is I think the pinnacle. I'm trying to think of other directors too, who are, cause that's the thing about, Nolan is one of those directors. He stands out because it got me thinking like, who are those directors that are like they have a unique vision, right? They are, when you watch their films, you know who you're watching. So these are the people I wrote down: Stanley Kubrick, Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, Chris Nolan, Quentin Tarantino.
Wait, go back to Paul Thomas Anderson. What did he do? I'm not familiar with his name. I'm sorry.
I thought we were friends, Nina.
Name a movie, man. Shit.
No, Hard Eight, Boogie Nights.
Oh, okay.
Magnolia.
Okay, gotcha.
There Will Be Blood.
I hate that movie, Magnolia, but okay.
Punch Drunk Love.
Oh, I like that movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah, I mean he's
Boogie Nights was great too.
Yeah, but I think the other thing that these directors have in common is they write their own films too. So they kind of do.
I think out of those people, though, Wes Anderson's my favorite director. I just love him.
Yeah, I like his work too. I don't know if he's my favorite though on this list. I think Kubrick is.
Well, yeah, Kubrick is yeah, for sure.
But then of course, I guess this was like my top 10 list though as well. So there was like Scorsese, Coppola, Lucas, Spielberg. I guess Fincher. Fincher's another one of those directors where it's like if you see a David Fincher movie, you can almost tell just the way it's shot and the way it's paced.
Kind of like Woody Allen. That guy, he's got that.
Yeah, Woody Allen is another one of those directors where it's like it's a Woody Allen film.
And I'm gonna just like. I was actually a huge fan of Woody Allen, like, growing up. Like I enjoyed his movies, especially like certain movies that he did like much or like in his earlier years. But like so like when he gets like all the hate now, like I feel like it's kind of unfair because I feel like he did have this like really iconic thing that he contributed to the world of cinema, and I feel like now people are just kind of like down on Woody Allen films, but he was very groundbreaking in his time. So
yeah, unfortunately that the allegations, I mean, obviously if they're true, I mean the guy is a dirtbag. But I don't know, I've heard different things, and it's just one of those, I don't know if his former wife was lying about him or whatever, or his daughter. I don't know, and maybe they very well might be. But I mean, his art in isolation, he's definitely talented. It's like Polanski as well. Polanski's made, I mean, he's made some good movies. I don't think that could be argued, but as a human being, I mean, the guy can't even live in the States, I don't think.
No. Galford Dog says John Nolan sometimes entirely hands writing duties to his little brother, and that's true. But they've teamed up a lot. Memento is brother's work, like story. So a lot of.
No, he's right.
Yeah.
But I mean that even just the partial writing, like Spielberg, for instance, the only film that he actually wrote, and Spielberg doesn't even co-write with anybody, but the only film that he wrote was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And so that's why I kind of do hold Spielberg on, like, I think he is, a great director. Although he's had a lot of misses lately. I just think his best work was probably like 70s, 80s, 90s.
Me too, yeah. I hate that movie though. Close Encounters. I'm not a fan. That's one of those movies where like everybody likes it and I freaking hate that movie.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's just it's a weird movie because the dad leaves his family.
Yeah. I feel like the aliens totally brainwashed him and then he like left his family. And I was like, because he was like, like he makes like that potato thing and he's like obsessed and she's like, please, honey, like, are you okay? And he's like, I just got to do this. And he's just like totally brainwashed by the aliens. And I feel like the aliens were evil. Like it was not one of those like, it's just, I don't know.
It's a weird ending. And like to make it seem like it's good, it's like, well, what about his kids and his family? Like now they have to grow up without a father. Like, it's just like, what a weird way to like.
It was a weird movie. I didn't like that.
I thought Spielberg was definitely like the way it's all done and the tension he builds up in certain things. Like it's, I could see why it's, considered a classic, but yeah.
Dog says Dark Knight Rises was all Jonathan. Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't think so, but let me see.
That's true.
We'll find out here. No, I'm pretty sure it was him and his brother because I was looking at screenplay books, and they have the whole. Well, yeah, I'll find out for sure because now I have to.
Curtis is also asking, what movie can you watch over and over again and never get tired of it?
That's a great question.
Well, for me, I watch Die Hard every year on Christmas, and I never get tired of watching Die Hard on Christmas. But like, there's other movies that I really enjoy watching over and over. Like I think I've watched probably like old classic movies. Like I've watched Some Like It Hot like at least 50 times in my life. Like I've watched Casablanca like 100 times, like lots of like Hitchcock movies, Vertigo, Psycho, The Man Who Knew Too Much, North by Northwest. Like I love Hitchcock movies. I never get sick of. Like, I just like I love old classic movies. So I'm a classic nerd when it comes to that kind of stuff. So those kind of movies I've watched over and over. What about you?
It's weird. I think films that I can just watch over and over again are like entrepreneurial movies, like The Social Network. That's the only common thread that I can see with movies that I can watch is I in some way, shape, or form find them to be like inspiring. Mm-hmm. So Moneyball is another movie, which I think it's a really good movie. But it's an easy watch for me. And I could just I think I like the journey from where like the character starts and how he figures out how to succeed. And I think that's the common thread with a lot of these movies that are easy for me to watch and that I could watch like maybe 2 or 3 times in a year. So, I think even for instance, The Founder with Michael Keaton is another movie where it's like, I think the movie could have been better, but I like the story so much, of how, this guy started in one place and then he wound up, in a whole nother place. Founder. It's about Ray Kroc and how he actually stole he kind of stole McDonald's from legally speaking. Yeah.
Founder. I did see it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But you can watch that movie over and over again?
I don't know about over. I'm saying like frequently. Like these are movies that I can just watch, like I can watch frequently. I don't like watching sad movies. I don't like watching, those are films that I will watch from time to time. Like Schindler's List is a film. I think it's an amazing film. Like I think it's one of the best films ever made.
List over and over again? Like
No, I'm saying I can't watch that type of movie over and over again. Okay. So I'm talking about like these sad movies. I do think like the thing that I'll instantly go to, another genre I guess that I go to is like sci-fi and fantasy, but I think more so sci-fi is because I think I'm just digging more escapism type films.
Me too.
Because of COVID and all this, bullshit.
Yeah, like one of the things I could watch over and over again, those like old school, like comedy movies too, like old school Sandler. Like I'll watch Billy Madison right now. It's like one of those things where if I see it on or something like that, I'll watch it. Happy Gilmore, or like, just certain old school comedies. Like I will watch like immediately, anything Chris Farley, like I would be like, yes, I'm down. With like old school comedy, like the 80s, 90s. I like those kind of movies, like the stuff that just like takes you back to a simpler time.
Yeah.
I love Aliens, like definitely, I would definitely watch that. Like 80s movies, yes. The Crow is not a movie that I could watch over and over again.
That's pretty heavy too, knowing.
Yeah, it's really heavy. Like I like it. It's a great movie, but not an over and over again kind of movie. No, Dazed and Confused, I would never watch it. I watched it once and that was enough. Like never again. Same with like, what's it called? Oh my God. Like, what's it called? That movie? Train Spotting. Like I'm never watching that movie again. I don't care if you paid me. I'd be like, no. Have you ever seen that movie?
I think I saw it once. I think I was pretty young too. Requiem for a Dream. That's like a film when it comes to like drug use and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not interested. Like I will watch it once and then it's like never fucking again. Like no.
Yeah.
Luffy's God says that list should have names like Hitchcock, Kurosawa, Charlie Chaplin. Don't embarrass me like that. John and Alan and had sexual affairs with Forrest daughter and then abused for what? Fawcett daughter? I don't know. Are you talking about Woody Allen? Because yeah, he married his like stepdaughter or something. But the other dude, I don't know. Polanski had other issues. The Woody Allen thing is weird because he married his stepdaughter. That's first of all, they're not related technically by blood, and second,
It's a little weird.
Yes, like she wanted to marry him. Like she was into it, and she was, overage. So, I mean, it's weird, but it's not like
it happened.
Yeah, it happened. So, I mean, it's just kind of like weird, but see, Clerks. I love old school. What's it called? When he wasn't a soy boy, and I could watch his movies. What's his name?
Oh, you're talking about the original Clerks. I think is still his best movie. I haven't seen Clerks 2 though, but
oh God, it's not as good.
Yeah, the original Clerks. That for me was like inspirational in the idea of like what you could do with barely any money, what he was able to do with that movie.
Like the following was for me. Like when I watched that movie, I was like, man, that is such a good movie. And it's like, it's so good. And there's like no money. There's
he wrote a great movie. And he made it for $6,000. $6,000.
It was brilliant. But yeah, Clerks. I mean, I personally, this is a debated thing with me and many people. I personally like Mallrats better, but Clerks was also great. Yes, Aliens is great. I mean, some of these movies I watch every year. Like I watch pretty much Aliens like every Halloween, or at least one of the Aliens, not 3. It's either like Alien or Aliens that I watch on in Halloween. Police Academy. I think I've only seen like one of the Police Academy movies.
Oh man, as a kid, I've watched, like me and my brother watched those films to death.
Mm-hmm.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Back to the Future. Like I grew up on those films. I'll say those are pretty easy for me to watch, but I just feel like I've watched them. I've just watched them so many times, and sometimes I'll come across movies like that where it's like I've just watched them so many times. Like even The Dark Knight, where it's like it's probably gonna be a little while before I actually watch it again, just because I've already watched it to death,
like 1,000 times.
Yeah. So it's like it's weird because there's movies that I have gone through, like I've watched them so many times, but like there is a limit where it's like, okay,
that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or for a little while.
Yeah, man. Trainspotting. I'm never like you couldn't pay me. I would never watch that movie again. Yeah, Kevin Smith's a total soy boy now. Although I wouldn't mind watching his new. I've resisted watching it because I was like, oh God, like he's an SJW soy boy now. I don't think I can handle his movie. But like I heard that Jay and Silent Bob, like the new one, was really good. So I might watch it. His last one that I really liked was Dogma. That movie was funny.
I never wound up seeing that.
Oh really? Then I'm not gonna spoil it. Because I was just gonna say who God ended up being, and I'm not gonna spoil it.
No, I know who it is.
You do?
I already heard.
Well, that sucks.
It probably dates the movie quite a bit, by the way.
That's true. Yeah. It does. Runner said he liked Clerks too, and loves Kevin Smith movies. Yeah, I do too. I mean, like some of his older stuff is great, especially like Jay and Silent Bob. That was amazing. Those are the good old days. I mean, like I remember, like Ben Affleck was like, totally in like the old school Kevin Smith movies. Like that's kind of like where you got to start.
Chasing Amy.
Yeah, Chasing Amy and Mallrats. Like he was in Mallrats. I love that movie.
I don't think I've seen Mallrats.
Oh my God. Like you have to watch Mallrats. It's so good. I mean, it's such a timepiece though, because it's so 90s.
Yeah.
Like it's just like one of those like 90s. Like I feel like I was a Mallrat. That's why I'm like, Like there was a period in my life where like I hung out at the mall every day. So
Yeah.
like it was like like when that movie came out, I was like, this is my life. Like they've made a documentary about my life. So there was this one scene where like I still laugh at that when like he like this chick goes into the changing room to like change, and Kevin Smith like goes through like the wall and like into the changing room, and she's like motherfucker, and she starts beating the shit out of him. Oh my god, it was so good, and I still laugh at that. That was a good scene.
He went through the wall?
Like swung from one side of the wall into like the store and like into the mall. Like it's just like a thing. Like you have to watch it. You won't understand what I'm talking about. He went through the changing room wall,
Okay.
and she was like changing inside the room, and she like it was like he was a peeping tom or something that was like coming through, but she was like, "You fucker," and she was like beating him. It was just so funny. Yeah, see, some people say Mallrats is far better. I just think it was funnier at the time. But yeah, Kevin Smith has so sold out. It's true. He's just such a soy boy now. Cries at everything. Quit crying, man. I feel like that dude needs like an injection of testosterone or something. Like he's just like in everything. He's just like, I'm gonna cry and then post my picture online.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, for one, okay, it's one thing to cry, but then to want to show everybody too on top of it. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know.
Wow, Runner and I agree on something. Oh my god, that is so rare. He says Mallrats is better than Clerks.
All right, I'll have to check it out.
This is definitely a debatable topic because so many people will be like, "You're crazy." His new movie was okay. Yeah, Dogma was good. I like that movie. I think that was like the last movie I ever watched of Kevin Smith that I was like, this is great. Runner says Dogma was good, but not something I'd rewatch. Yeah, see, like I haven't watched it in years, but I would watch Mallrats again because it's just one of those things where you're like it. Some movies is like, it's like encapsulates time, like, and you're just like you like you it I mean, you'll find this out later in life, Runner, because you'll think back to a certain time in your life because you're so young right now. But like later on, when you're like in your 30s or in your 40s or something like that, you'll think like, oh, I'm gonna rewatch this movie because it takes you back to that moment where you were, 19, 20, or like what your age you are now. It just is that's the power of movies and music. Like, you'll listen to certain songs and you'll be like, oh my god, it just transports you back to when you were that age. So yeah, I agree. Rennie says Dogma makes me laugh so hard. I mean, it was so funny, some of the stuff in there.
Yeah, I don't know, I'll have to check it out. I wonder where it's playing or what it's playing on.
Luffy's God says an old school film means Blazing Saddles and Chaplin movie. I love you. Stay away from that sort of movies. I love Chaplin movies, but I mean, Chaplin movies, we're talking really far out now. I mean, like my favorite Chaplin movies is The Kid, The Great Dictator. It's not like I haven't watched it, but like, I can't talk to Runner, who's like, like 19 years old and in the chat, or, about Chaplin movies. I don't think he's ever seen one. Please prove me wrong, Runner. Tell me.
I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen. I haven't, I think a lot of people haven't seen Chaplin movies.
Yeah, so I mean, I could do a stream and talk old school movies because I'm a connoisseur, but like not everybody can enjoy that conversation, Yeah, see, like I love the Seven Samurai. Like, Akira Kurosawa is one of my favorite directors, and Seven Samurai is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's it's one of those movies that like just gets you in the feels.
I haven't seen Seven Samurai in, gosh, it's been a while since I've seen that movie. think I saw it in maybe I was like 18 or 19. And I remember enjoying it. It's a long movie. It's like 3.
It is.
I don't know.
You know, another one that's really good is Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. That one's like a short, like, and it's his only color movie that he did, where there's certain ones that he does. It's like really trippy, and then there's one that he talks about like kind of like it was foreshadowing like a nuclear fallout in Japan and stuff like that. So it was really like close to what happened with Fukushima. It's really like really interesting stuff. Kurosawa's got really cool stuff. And he also did a Macbeth. His Macbeth is
Throne of Blood. Yeah.
Yes, that one's. I mean, that's next level. I was like, this is great.
Did you see Ron?
Yes, I think I did.
85. I think it was 1985. That's based off another Shakespeare. Or wait,
Ron?
Yeah, RAN.
I don't think I ever seen this one. 1985.
Yeah.
I should watch this.
It's good.
I have not seen this. Thanks, John. I will definitely watch this one.
Yeah, no problem.
I do. Anyways, I appreciate Akira Kurosawa on a very deep level.
Did you ever see Dreams by Kurosawa?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Dreams is great. He's got like that's the one that he has the Fukushima kind of like.
That's right. I know what you're talking.
Yeah, he's talking about like a nuclear fallout in Japan, and that's really cool.
Yeah, there's like I don't know how many different segments there are in that movie. It's like basically a bunch of short films.
Yeah, short films. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good stuff. Runner says the Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings nerd debate was the best part of Clerks 2. Yeah, that was fun.
That was great. See, that was the thing where he literally he wrote a movie that was all dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was all, just these conversations, like talking heads between people, and it worked. The only exception, of course, I think you have where they're playing hockey on the roof, then they go to the funeral and get, knock over the casket or get kicked out, or run out of there. But for the most part, the movie is just a bunch of, it's just people talking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I liked it. That's like old school Kevin Smith stuff.
Yeah.
Luffy's God says it's like idiots on film, a classic, Casablanca, Doctor Strangelove, Gone with the Wind, Lawrence of Arabia, Chaplin, The Kid, Citizen Kane, ring any bells? Yeah, I mean all of those.
Oh yeah.
Except for Citizen Kane, which I have on my list because of that scene that John showed me of that guy like ruining his room. I was like, okay, I need to watch this movie because he went crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Citizen Kane is one of, it was pretty revolutionary at the time, but a lot of people would say even some of the techniques that were used in there that they were already done before. But I think Wells, like, he definitely was breaking the mold in terms of what you could do with movies, and I think that's what makes the film so extraordinary.
But I also know that you haven't seen Doctor Strangelove, which I think is a crime. You should watch that movie.
I've seen the first probably 10 minutes of it, so I have to watch more of it. I did recently watch. What's that?
You haven't seen it.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I recently watched. I think I like Kubrick's. Don't get me wrong. Have you seen Paths of Glory? While we're talking about Kubrick movies.
No, I haven't.
Spartacus. Have you seen Spartacus?
Yes, I have.
Okay, but
times I've seen Spartacus many times.
Well, I recently watched The Shining, and it's so weird after not seeing that movie for a little while and then rewatching it. Cause yeah, there's so I don't know. You start reading into it. If you ever see one thing that's if you want to do yourself a favor when it comes to watching Kubrick movies, watch Room 237 about all these theories about Kubrick's movies, or particularly The Shining. Because
watch Room
237. Yeah. because it will change the way you see that movie.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that.
And I have to say, like, after watching it again, I just watched it through a whole nother lens, and it's crazy.
Did you see the sequel that came out recently?
I don't care about it. No, it can.
Doctor Sleep.
I don't. If it doesn't have anything to do with Kubrick, I don't care.
No, it's a sequel to The Shining.
Yeah, I just don't. I know it is, but it's like,
No,
unless Kubrick did it, I don't care. I don't want that movie ruined.
For what it's worth, I didn't mind it. I thought it was good. It was like it wasn't the best, but it was good. It was entertaining. I like Ewan McGregor in it.
Yeah, I think McGregor's a good actor, but nothing's gonna compare to Kubrick.
Of course not. But there's this, like, for example, there's a scene where, like, I'm just gonna tell you because you're not planning on watching it. But when, like, because you don't really see the hotel for a very long time in the movie, like from when it kind of starts, because it's, like, that was The Shining,
Mm-hmm.
So, like, but when they finally go to the hotel, there's a scene where, like, as the car is driving, like, they, like, kind of, like, the lens, like, comes down, and the director who made this is also, like, one of my favorite directors, but he
Who directed it?
God, who was it? Hold on. I don't know his name. Dr. Sleep. But, like, when, like, it comes, like, the camera comes down, and as they're driving to the hotel, Mike Flanagan. And he's like, and the movie, like, the song for The Shining starts, and it just kind of, like, sends chills down your spine, because you're like, oh shit, like, there it is, like, because you're like, it's weird because the whole movie you're waiting for that moment where, like, they kind of, like, go back to that hotel, like, or, like, you think that that's how it's gonna start, or, like, you're gonna see that hotel very, like, much earlier on, but you see it, like, way later, and the way, like, the build up to that thing was perfect. I was like, oh, like, it just kind of gets you, because it's like, it just hits you at that moment of, like, when, like, you hear that music and everything, and you're like, oh my God, it's The Shining. So I thought that was, like, it was executed very well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm kind of like over. I guess I'm sick and tired of, like, I recently saw on TV, because I watched some of the Super Bowl yesterday, but I recently saw that they're going to come out with a series called Clarice, based off of.
Apparently it's terrible. It got freaking trashed by freaking Variety because Kurtzman made it. Apparently he fucked it up.
I'm just like, is there not an original bone in anybody's freaking body in Hollywood? I'm just so tired of milking, people milking the past and trying to, it's really getting annoying at this point. Like, at first it was just like, okay, now I'm just at a point where it's destroying. It's like you can only survive. Like, the movie industry, the film industry, any creative industry can only survive if you're just, it'll only survive so long if you're just milking the trends, or you're only going to do so well. And that's where we're at right now, is where they're literally just taking everything and trying to, because they're so afraid and so worried about taking an actual risk. They want guaranteed, guaranteed payday on something.
Well, I mean, that's funny that you say that, but then there goes, like, Alex Kurtzman and fucks up even something like that's supposed to be a sure thing, like Clarice, and then, you're like, dude.
Yeah. Well, there's not any guarantees, though. That's really what they need to take out of this, like, Terminator Woke Fate. Like, how well did that go over? I mean, there's no guarantees in any of this stuff, and ultimately, it's like, I'm just so sick of the mindset that is in pretty much mainstream Hollywood right now. And this is where there's a perfect, I think, window of opportunity where you might see that renaissance of independent filmmaking, like kind of how you had in the 70s, because now they have no choice but to start taking some risks and chances, especially when theaters open back up. I don't know. I mean, I'm sick of the Hollywood system. I'm sick of, I don't watch any of the shit that comes out most of the time because it's literally like regurgitated shit. Whether it's the, taking a franchise and putting that name on something, or literally just regurgitating something else where it's just like another generic piece of shit of something.
Well, here's another one for you. Have you heard about this one, Coming to America too?
We'll see. I mean, it's got Eddie Murphy in it. We'll see. But it's just like
it's got all the people, but he's a baby daddy that doesn't know about his baby. I mean, I'm not feeling the plot. I'm not feeling the plot.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it either. Even though you told me like 5 words of it, I'm just like the time to make a sequel. Like if you're gonna do a sequel, you got to make it like right when the iron's hot. Like do it when there's actually like a demand for it. Like, I just think when you make a sequel 30 or 40 years, like even Bill and Ted, right? I didn't wind up seeing the movie, and it's probably okay. But I'll probably eventually check it out. But I think the time to make sequels, of course, is like do it when there's actually demand for it. Like don't freaking make the sequel 40 years out.
Well,
and hope they cash out on the nostalgic currency.
Well, the thing with The Shining is that because it's based on Stephen King's book, and then like later, like, after he wrote, like years after he wrote the Shining, he came out with a sequel. And so people wanted, I wanted an ending to that story. Like I wanted to know what happens to his son. And so he came out with that book. And so like Dr. Sleep, I like Dr. Sleep because I'm one of those people that's like, I need an ending. So like I wanted to know what happens to this kid.
They got away. That was the ending.
No, that's not the ending, because that's like he comes back. Like that's the whole thing.
Got away.
He has the shining. He has the shin. If you want to get sued. But like, he has that power. So it's like, what the fuck's gonna happen to this kid now? And so like I like that story. And so like when I didn't feel like reading the fucking book, so when they came out with the story or the movie, I was like, yeah, sign me up. Okay, I'm watching this.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I'm not even that big of a Stephen King fan, really.
I'm not either.
I feel like he's just like I think if you're into horror, then you're probably a Stephen King fan. I'm just not into it. So I never really got into horror. However, I will say that some great movies have been made based off of his writing. Shawshank Redemption, one of those films, which isn't a horror story.
I mean, I like old Stephen. Like, I don't like his new stuff. His new stuff is trash. His old stuff is great. Like like all that, like the older stuff is great. It feels like he's kind of gone through like the same Nolan effect that we've been talking about. Like as the years have gone by, it's like he just gets high off his own supply or something like that. And that guy actually gets high and starts like writing shit. And I mean, he's done it for years. So like, it just feels like he just thinks he's like God's greatest gift to earth, and like he can't do no wrong, so he just kind of keeps pumping them out. But I don't know, it's not getting any better.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of happens is that like somebody said in the chat, they start buying into their own greatness, or the praise and the acclaim, and I think there is a certain level of humility that you have to. I don't know. At some point, you have to have. Well, it's funny because Stephen King, and this is another thing that I don't really. I guess he always writes about writers.
No,
I think that's a common. Okay, well, it seems like it's a common thread. Indian burial grounds seem like a common thread too, but.
Well, I like Pet Cemeteries. I mean, that book was freaky as shit. See, I like that. Pet Cemetery was a good horror book. Like but
I believe it. Yeah,
it wasn't a really good movie, but it was a really good book. Like the book, just like, I mean, it was excellent. I mean, it though that's it. Like, yeah, that's the bar right there. It was perfect, and on like so many levels. But I liked it the movie more than it the book. I know it's just so weird.
Well, I know Kubrick. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
No.
I just didn't like that whole orgy thing with it. I was like, I'm not interested in these kids having an orgy together. But
I didn't. Is that in the book?
Yeah, Stephen King goes too far with certain things, and you're like, why? Like, why are you doing this? Like,
It's weird.
He's so weird, man. Stephen King is weird. He's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're right to some of the things that he does. You have to be. What's funny though, if you actually if you watch some documentaries about The Shining or
I'm gonna watch this movie, this
Room 237. Ooh, it's good. But it talks about Kubrick actually deviating so much from the book.
Yeah, he did. And that's why Stephen King
basically saying F you. Yeah, F you. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna make the movie I want. It's not even really gonna be about,
Yeah.
It's really, and I'm glad he did though, because I don't know, The Shining is just so, after rewatching, I'm like, dang man, this movie is just so, it's just so different in a lot of different ways. And I don't even think, I think more so, I didn't even appreciate it as much as I do now. But I guess it got like it won, what was it? A Razzie Award for worst film of the year or something, or it got nominated.
I didn't hear about that.
Oh yeah. When it came out, it was panned by critics originally.
Really?
Oh yeah. It was not, people did not get it at all.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't gotten around to Citizen Kane. And the only reason I'm interested even remotely now is because of this dude right here. The one. Yeah, right here, this guy. That's the only reason. You.
Oh, about Citizen Kane? Yeah, you need to watch it.
Yeah, he told me to watch it. So it's on my list now. But that's the only reason. I've never been interested in that movie until you said that I should watch it. Well, you showed me that clip too, and I was like, that looks funny. I want to know why this guy is destroying that room. He just went crazy.
Yeah, every time I rewatch it, I'm never disappointed.
Runner has seen it, and I like, good job, Runner. I'm impressed. Says Citizen Kane is okay, not the masterpiece people make it out to be. I'm gonna have to.
I disagree.
Oh, that's
so that's fine. I totally get it if people don't,
Welcome back.
It's weird because if you look at what's up, Mom, Mama Bear.
Mama Bear.
Oh, I think it was Matt's Ma.
It is. It's the same.
Oh, okay.
She changed her brand.
Gotcha. But when you look at films that were made around that time and how, again, I think only then do you appreciate how much of a game changer it was, because I think it was 1941.
Yeah, long time ago. I don't know if it's been that long.
And you look at, yeah. And if you watch how movies, like that movie is, okay, yeah. What that movie did during that time, when most of the time movies told things in a very linear way, in terms of like camera angles, like just your typical movies did not do what that film does. Mm-hmm. And so I guess if you don't really understand like the context of it, but I think it's also a film where you still have to, now everything is just like, it's just like, it treats everybody with the attention of a goldfish, which I hate, because that's the thing about Kubrick's movies as well. Like, he's not afraid to like take his time, and now everything is just like cut to hell in the editing room to just make it like, and I feel like Tenet was a film like that as well, where it was just like, it's just like literally nonstop action. We're just going to throw everything at you, but it just doesn't, you don't have any time to really appreciate.
I was just going to say the exact same thing that you were saying. I feel like that's exactly what happened with Tenet. Like, they're just like, take this, like, it's just like nonstop. And you're like, okay, like, let me absorb what is happening here.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't even give you a moment. And I don't like that. Like, I like You know, it's weird because sometimes when you watch movies like that, people are like, "Oh, this is such a slow burn," and I'm like, "This is called a regular movie. Like when it has,
Right.
like when it's got
Seriously.
like a pace that you're actually like going through like the motions, and you're going from like because not everything is a climax. Like the climax is a climax because it goes from you're starting out to the climax, and then you come down.
Yeah.
Like when you're starting at a climax, it just doesn't make any sense. Like it's just like, oh, I'm just going to keep this level the entire
Yeah.
time. That's not how a movie's supposed to go. And by the way, another monster, 100% agree with you. The Third Man is a freaking brilliant movie.
I still have to see it.
That movie. It's so great.
No, but Nina, that's a great point. It's like if everything is here, then like it's somebody said, so there's like what's called the Marvel method of drawing comic books and stuff, and that was the idea of like you make everything as dynamic as possible, whether it was just like a simple conversation between people. But I forgot who said this, but it's like, well, where's the point of like that then when the fight comes up, it's not nearly as dynamic, right? Because you don't have any calm before the storm. And so it's like, even in music or like a great symphony or something, or a great song, if everything was just completely rocked out to the highest moment, like where's the contrast between anything? But I feel like that's where, film producers are just concerned and worried, or movie executives, I should say, they're concerned, like, oh no, we can't lose the audience's attention, like God forbid. Yeah. And everything is just, so everything is styled and tailored towards that. And I think, people are becoming accustomed to that, and that's what they're expecting. But I prefer slow burns. In fact, when I was watching Interstellar, I thought to myself, I'm like, there are points where Nolan could actually just like milk this for a little while longer. Like the beauty and the grandeur of space, like the way Kubrick does in 2001, where it's like he lets you get immersed in this world more.
Exactly.
Like, so it's like it becomes this great immersive experience rather than, it's like, oh no, we got to like we can't hold a shot longer than 4 seconds.
Exactly.
Like,
that's why I like
that.
Yeah, I like that about Interstellar too, because I feel like he took his time to like let you feel what he wanted you to feel, like the extent.
I think he could have went. I think he could. When I was watching the film, I'm like, damn, this thing is fucking cut up quite a bit. But he's trying to put so much in it. It could have been worse. But I mean, I thought the film he could have made like 3.5 hour movie if he wanted to.
Well, how long was that movie? Because
it was almost 3 hours.
Yeah, because I think that's what happened, is that I think he wanted to, like, he probably had a longer movie, and then they were like, in editing, they were like, you gotta cut this, because that's what I'm talking about. People don't have the attention span anymore to sit there and watch a full, like, like you talk about a Gone with the Wind or something like that, but like people just don't have that attention span anymore. And then you hear something like, oh, Snyder Cut, like, the Snyder Cut for Justice League is going to be like 4 hours. And I'm like, okay, so you're willing to like sit there and watch the Justice League for 4 hours, but God forbid somebody makes a good movie that like, goes past 2.5 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, I mean, how could you, I don't know. It's just, it's such a weird standard that we set for ourselves. I feel like, okay, when it comes to a superhero movie, I'll sit there and watch it for 4.5 hours or whatever it is. But like, I'm not going to sit there and watch like, Interstellar for 3 hours. Like, fuck that. That's too much.
Yeah. No, it is funny. I mean, me personally, I guess when it comes to like the superhero like thing, it's getting a little tired right now. I mean, I will say WandaVision, I think I watched the first 3 episodes, and it's good. I'm enjoying it. I haven't watched I think the last 2, but I mean, other than that, I don't know. I'm kind of like just over. I'm just getting sick of the superhero stuff because it's studios, like they're milking it, and then simultaneously fucking up a lot of it too. But
yeah, I mean, see, with WandaVision, it's been like a weekly thing for me. Like Like one week I'm like, oh, this is great. The next week I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if this is gonna be great. This looks like shit now. Like the next week I'm like, oh, this is getting back good. This is good again. And then the next week I'm like, oh my God, this looks terrible. So like the last episode, like Jane and I were talking about it and we were like, oh, like this is not going well. Like, like the fifth episode is kind of like, oh no, like and then so you're like, okay, what are they gonna do with it? It's one of those shows where I feel like they either really had to have dropped the whole thing, or like at this point you're just kind of like, oh God, like just let it end well so that we don't feel like we wasted our time, but we very well could have. I don't know. It's one of those. It's a toss up. We don't know what's going to happen.
I think that's why I haven't. Well, that's why I question. I'm like, well, how good is it? Because I'm not necessarily like looking to dive. I'm like, so far, first 3 episodes, okay, I'm good, but I almost, I'm like, oh, please don't go the standard Marvel shit. Please don't. I don't know. I think that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like. See, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You still have to watch it, especially since you've committed already like to 3 or 4 episodes or whatever.
And the MCU they've had some good movies, but I think the way people, like some people act about the MCU too, like you just have people that are just utter, but it can go for the DC as well. And it's just like, look, these movies are not, there are some pretty decent ones in the MCU. I'll say that. And even in DCU, but they're just not. I'm like, there's so much good cinema out there. Like there's so much like expose yourself to it, Yeah,
like Memento, people. Okay, so another monster here says, I kind of think that we won't understand Tenet's effects on cinema for years. And maybe that's true. That's one of those things. Yeah, like I guess we'll find out. But like, I don't know, and it really all depends on what he comes out with next, because he could always outdo himself. I don't know. He's just one of those dudes. You never know what you're gonna get with Nolan.
Yeah, I wouldn't count him out. I mean, hopefully he learns, from his mistakes. I mean, I think he's got to be somewhat honest with himself and just say, yeah, there was these things that we could have done a little bit better, Runner
the Prodigy says the third man is a masterpiece. That's a funny name. What is happening? Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. Zero Rewind says, in this day and age, people want instant gratification. You have to be already established if you want to try to be successful with slow boils.
True. And even then it might be tough for you.
Yeah, and I guess that's a little bit true, because I feel like Nolan started out like that, though. Like that movie, like The Following, was a very slow burn. Like, it took a minute for you to be like, okay, what am I seeing here? And I don't know how many people in the chat have seen it, because it was kind of like, it was such a weird topic. Like, I was like, what the hell is this movie about? A stalker? And it was also about a writer. So it's because the movie is basically about a writer who wants to write about people, but in order to do that, he starts following people around. So he kind of starts stalking them. And then some dude finds out that he's following him, and then ends up basically, exposing him. He's like, why are you following me? And then I'm not going to tell you what happens after that, but basically that's the story about this dude following people around. And it's just such an interesting story.
Yeah. That
but it takes a minute. It takes a minute for you to be like, okay, what's happening? Like, why am I watching this dude follow people around? It was so funny. But yeah, I agree with you, Zero. I don't know if you could make that movie now. I don't know if you could make that kind of style of movie now and then still be as successful as he was with it. Because of the way.
I don't even think he was it was successful in the sense that it probably got him the job for Memento, where it was like, all right, you got a film under your belt. You seem to know what you're doing here. And because obviously the production of Memento compared to Following is definitely
way higher.
Yeah.
And he got like an ace cast back then, like for Memento, because back then, like Carrie Ann Moss was like at the top of her game, like and so was Guy Pearce and the other dude that was in the Matrix, Cypher, I forget his name, but they were all they were all like at the top of their game back then. So it was like a very like high like ace actors at the time. Slow burns make you think. That's why they're so divisive. It's true.
Made 9 million, or I'm sorry, the budget was 9 million for Memento. So, he got quite a bit more money to play around with. Box office 39.9 million.
Wow.
Pretty good for a film, an independent film like that.
If a starting author or filmmaker attempts to make a slow boil work, people won't even look at it. I think it depends on who they are. I think it depends. And what they do, like what they make. Some people like, it all depends. I don't know. Luffy's God says, I get your level of Sandler humor, but nonstop action with no story or substance whatsoever. That's your taste. Good on you, but don't make a show about movies. I don't know. Everything in its own place, I feel like Sandler has its own place in like comedy. He has no business doing serious movies. I don't know.
I mean, Punch Drunk Love. I mean, he proved Adam Sandler can act.
He can act. It's true.
But, well, I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson actually, who is considered to be a great director. Like he's, just because like even these like I've heard Ridley Scott talk about these other films too, like Adam Sandler movies. I think it was with P.T. Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess it's the idea that like even people who are, you would think would be film snobs, like these great directors, like they watch Adam Sandler movies. So,
yeah. I mean, one of it, like speaking of serious Adam Sandler movies, I actually did a review on my channel for one of them that I hadn't seen. And he was good. Like this, I mean,
are you talking about Hidden Gems? Or what was it called?
No, I hate that movie.
Okay. Uncut Gems. That was it.
Uncut Gems. No, I hate that. Oh my God, I hate that movie so much. That was such a waste of time. But like, no, the other one that he did with, oh God, what is this movie called? Why am I blanking on the name right now? Let me just look at my own channel and I'll tell you really quickly. It was about a dude that like basically lost his family in 9/11. Reign Over Me.
Oh, okay.
And it was really, really good. Like it was a very emotional drama. Like, I mean, it gets you in the feels, and Adam Sandler acts really well in that. But like, so like, there's no saying that he doesn't have the acting ability, but you have to have, like we said before, a script and like a good movie. Uncut Gems was not a good movie. That was a fucking terrible movie.
I have yet to see it.
I will fight anyone who tells me it's a good movie. I'm like, no, that is freaking awful. That was such a waste of time.
So Nina has a strong opinion.
Yeah, on that movie particularly, I'm like, oh my God, this movie is so bad. It tried to be so many things that it was not. It definitely was not. Mads Mover says, I'll never be over superhero stuff. I think I can get over it too at some point. I'm like,
I'm a comic book guy. Like I grew up on this shit, I just hate to see it abused in some ways. I think that's what I like. Spielberg, he predicted that in the same way Westerns eventually, had their time. I don't know if superheroes will be like that. but everything is a phase, and I guess if it gets just bad and abused and overused,
it's oversaturated. It's like it's one of those things where you're like, let me miss you, like let a couple of years pass before another one comes out, because you have like all these different companies coming out with their own, like you got Sony and DC and all that stuff, and then you got Marvel, and you got then you got the independents, like let's say Watchmen, that came out with their thing, and then you have like certain, it's just like always, and then you have like shows like The Boys, and like there's just all these different types of superhero genres, and it's just like, give us a minute to miss that, wanting to watch a superhero movie. Like, I just feel like it's just so oversaturated at this point. But there's always going to be people who like it, though, of course.
Well, and that doesn't mean that there can't be great movies made within the, I guess it's become a genre now. Like Joker, for instance, which was kind of like a different take on comic book characters. So, but right now, I mean, the reason why there's so many movies coming out is because they know they'll make money, and that's why they're made. So,
but you know what's weird? You know what? I almost want to tell you to watch Uncut Gems just so I can see if you like hate it as much as I do. But at the same time, I don't want you to waste your time. So like, I don't want you to watch it.
I'll probably eventually see it. I think it's on HBO, but I know it's a pretty tense or intense movie.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, so it's just like, do I feel like watching that? But I'll eventually see it probably.
I know Runner's a huge fan. This is something we disagree on all the time. There you go. He said he watched Following on YouTube for free. It was pretty good.
Nice.
Well, I'm glad that you liked it, Runner. That's again, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed by you tonight.
Why did it all start with Uncut Gems for you, with you and Runner?
Yeah, it did.
I think Runner's got good taste.
Yeah. He's a huge fan of Uncut Gems, and he says bring it on then. Fight me. Runner the Prodigy says, ban this fake runner that likes Uncut Gems. Oh my God, I don't know who that is. Yeah, there you go. Uncut Gems is good. People want to fight.
That seems like a very polarizing and divisive movie.
It's just, I can't explain it. It's like one of those movies that you have to watch in order to understand why I say it's bad. Like, I don't want to spoil it for you, because if I go into detail, then it'll be spoiling it, and then you'll be like, why am I going to watch it ever? No. See, Runner says, watch it, John. It's not a waste.
I'll probably check it out eventually. I don't know if I'll watch the whole movie, but I'll check it out.
See, there you go. I want to watch Uncut Gems. Haven't seen it yet. Yeah, it's just it's one of those things. I've heard, like, I'm a big fan of Adam Sandler, so I was like, I'm watching this movie, and I love Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett's like one of my favorite basketball players of all time. So I was like, what?
Checking all the boxes.
This movie, like, yes, I'm watching this movie. It's freaking Kevin Garnett. Like, hell yeah. And then I was like, hell no. What did I just fucking watch? Kill me now. Oh no. But yeah, so like we've been going for like almost 3 hours, John. I'm gonna let you, tell everyone where they can find you, so that you can go and do other things with your life, because I'm sure you have one.
I probably will actually be doing, I'll probably do a live stream tonight too. So
what?
If you guys, midnight hour, Nina.
Okay. I'll be there.
All right. I mean, if you want, but yeah, that's probably what I'm going to be doing. You can find me on John Talks, and I make silly little videos that are probably like a minute or 2 minutes.
His links is in the description for his, YouTube channel and his Twitters if you want to follow him. And
thanks, Rennie.
And just Rennie, look at that, modding away. Put it in the chat for you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, John. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, you bet. I want to say hello to, or rather goodbye to everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see so many familiar faces here, and it's always good to see you. You're welcome, Runner. You're welcome. And yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been fun to get to just chat about movies, and I feel like we probably didn't accentuate enough of Nolan's positive things that he did here.
I did. I loved Inception. I'm telling you, and Memento. Freaking awesome movies, man.
Yeah.
Go wrong. And The Prestige and Insomnia. Great movies.
I think I'm gonna actually go out and I'll probably buy all of his at least the films that I like of Nolan. I actually own the Dark Knight trilogy and I own Inception, but I'm trying to think anything other than that. Yeah, I need to buy it. So
I think I have all my movies like in Canada still, but I have like a giant movie collection and I have like old school DVDs of everything. So I definitely own like Memento and Prestige and like all those different old school movies. I have them all. But I still have to bring them back over here. But yeah, so thank you everybody. Another monster, Curtis. What? Who's this guy again? Everyone knows who he is. No, like he's just he's the sexiest man on YouTube.
Stop. I just
Thank you for being here. I don't know who you are, but thank you for being here, Runner the Prodigy, another monster. Like I said, Christy, Zero Rewind, Shane, Galford Dog, Mama Bear, thank you so much for being here tonight. Luffy's God, thank you for being here. Shane Nolan, who else? XCOM 54, thank you. E. Clay was here, thank you so much. I don't know who else was here. Josh, Shane, thank you guys. Gen X was here, thank you guys so much. Dark Shadow, thank you. So yeah, everybody find John Talks on John Talks' channel for Midnight Hour, which is awesome. And then find me on here. I don't know. I do live streams. We do stuff. The Elite, thank you for being here. Also Wednesday, catch me on John Talks' channel for Infinite Talk, where we talk politics. If you're into that kind of thing, that's always fun.
Definitely. We'll probably do more than just politics too. We'll cover some other things.
Like more movies.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun.
We just talk movies for like 3 hours, but we can do that again.
Well, we talked Christopher. Yeah, we did talk movies in general, but we did talk Nolan for a good deal of it. Maybe I don't know, maybe we could do another one of these live streams where we're talking maybe another director's work or something like that.
I would love that. I would love that. Anytime, John, you want to hang out, you just give me a shout. Be like, let's go live. And I'll be there.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Have
12:30, midnight 30. Okay.
Go to John's channel, 12:30.
If you want. There's no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
I can't promise it's gonna be as fun as this.
Well, I'll be in the chat, so it'll still be fun. Okay. Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.
I can find my outro. There is one. Here we go.